Chapter 21, Day of Frost. Tohan wanted to act bold and return the winter gear, but the moment she shed her fur coat, goosebumps rose and her body protested. Remembering Chung Du's tip to swap for jewelry at the end and resell next round, she wrapped up and headed to the market. She wandered without aim, thinking shortages should spawn a bazaar. As expected, the noise led her to a small market. Urgently buying fever reducers, price negotiable. A glance at several stalls showed cold-proof items pricier than 2 days ago. When the cyclone hit, no one valued warmth, but once the cold front arrived, people panic bought, pushing prices sky-high. This island is mild like spring all year. Who imagined it would drop below zero? Some customers lamented, echoing many minds. People avoided stocking fur coats for lack of use. Quilts were mere decor with little practical value. She understood that mindset since nothing like this had happened before, so habit said it would not happen later. Understanding did not mean agreeing. Earlier she bought only a camel wool quilt, which looked careless, yet the real reason was poverty. Rare things are precious, and she knew survival goods could be traded for helpful cold gear this round, yet her heart still balked. She had planned to buy gear after earning more, but trouble came first. She shook it off and focused on browsing. One loop around and her chest ached a little. Cold gear had been overbid, so hoarding now brought little benefit. Better to hoard jewelry, then shop freely next instance. Besides, jewelry was truly cheap today. Gold rings, gold chains, gold earrings, gold bracelets, gold anklets, I'll take them. Pigeon blood ruby ring, the price is high, cut it and I'll buy. The emerald color is decent, if the price fits I'll consider. Soon she carried a heavy box of jewelry which, at normal prices, felt like holding a whole house. Back at the inn she walked the beach and saw no more beached seafood. Passing the pier, she glanced seaward and froze. Was that not Chung Du, and were those enormous containers beside him? She palmed her forehead, thinking the gap between people is truly vast. Some stock bottled water, some stock water by the barrel. Some pack goods in backpacks, some use storage chests, and some prefer containers. With money, a private stash, and containers, a person becomes a walking game glitch. Thinking so, she approached. His face looked sour as he muttered, "What is this? Says the volume is too big to store." She snorted a laugh. He turned, relaxing a little. "Why are you here?" "I traded for quite some jewelry," she said, then asked, "What about you?" He clicked his tongue, planned to stash an RV, but it flopped. An RV is a mobile home with full living space. "Where did you get so much money?" she asked, doubting jewelry sales alone could fund that. After a beat he admitted, "At the end of the newbie instance I scraped some currency and took it into round 2, turns out it works here, and prices regained normal power, a nice surprise." She was speechless. So he cleared the newbie challenge, and the so-called day 20 hyperinflation made her shake her head. "You're not bad either." He checked the time and hurried off, "Busy now, see you." Watching him leave, she murmured, "Sharing key intel for free, a reliable teammate isn't bad at all." For the first time in this game she felt partying up was great, since two people could cover each other. On day 12 the system chimed, "Light snow today, the low is -10 degrees, the weak risk frostbite, those with stamina above 80 are immune. Pipes froze and burst, island-wide water supply stops today. -10. She wrapped herself in a small blanket and decided to stay inside. With power out and no heater, life turned hard. Even wrapped tight with only her head exposed, the cold still bit. Suddenly recalling something, she dashed out. Chung Du was about to knock, and they nearly collided. The surprise made them both pause. "What is it?" she asked. He steadied fast, "It's too cold, I'll burn wood for heat." "If two share a room, the wood lasts longer, interested?" "Yes, I plan to boil water for a hot drink in a hot water bag." "Let's go together." They fetched wood from storage and returned to room 502 to build a fire. She warmed by the flames as the chill retreated and her mind eased. "Had I known, I wouldn't have been lazy, one more tree and no wood worries," she grimaced. Calmly he said, "Don't worry, I stored charcoal and solid alcohol, we can last 5 more days." She fell silent. So this was the ease of the wealthy, buying without overthinking. "What did you trade the containers for later?" she asked. 10 storage chests, any size works, he said with regret. She once thought herself daring, now she knew there is always a higher mountain. "I thought you could live fine alone, no teammates needed," she said sincerely. He scoffed, "Survival games throw all kinds of events, more prep is always better." He looked away. He had rations, more than 90 packs of compressed biscuits, fully stocked. Yet those things were tasteless and punishing to eat. Rushing everywhere to prepare, he forgot snacks, and by the time he noticed it was late. One who gnawed biscuits for days swore off watching others eat well. Unexpectedly. "Want some?" She produced chocolate wafers, buttermeat bread, candies, chocolate, and biscuits, and added warmly, "Take whatever you like." He resisted, then surrendered, "Then I won't be polite." He boiled spring water for noodles, bit buttermeat bread, and thought a teammate truly calms the heart. When the water boiled, she filled a hot water bottle and pressed it to her hands. Numb fingers regained dexterity, warmth spread through her body, and she exhaled, as if entering heaven. Author's note: stockpiling at the right time looks genius, stockpiling at the wrong time looks foolish. No one knows the future, all we can do is prepare as best we can. Chapter 22, Calamity 10. On day 13, light snow fell thick outside while the two of them warmed their hands over the fire and sipped hot water, the mood calm and gentle. Tahan mused that with a hot pot it would feel like a home party. A sudden pounding rattled the door with a shout, "It is me, the landlord, open up." Chung Dewey cracked the door and asked, "What is it?" Typhon, wrapped in a coral fleece blanket, lashes frosted white and teeth chattering, pleaded, "This damned cold is brutal, I know you have a fire inside, can I come in to warm up?" "Inconvenient." Chung Dewey refused coolly. He only felt safe sleeping with 2 inside, adding Typhon risked a knife in the back. "A survival game means everyone finds their own way, kindness has limits, and the man once led bandits to their door." He moved to shut the door. Typhon hastily blocked it and blurted, "Not for free, I will pay, I am rich." Chung Dewey's eyes flickered. The cash he prepared was nearly gone, and gold or silver would make the next instance easier. "What price?" He haggled from behind the door. Grimacing yet submissive, Typhon thought it was his house, yet he had to pay to enter. What a farce, but he dared not push back. He could not beat 4 bandits, and those 4 could not beat the 2 inside, so conflict with the tenants was unwise. He probed, 200 bay a day. Goodbye. Chung Dewey was speechless and about to close. Wait. Wind and sleet whipped the hall and made him shiver. He came to his senses and changed fast. I misspoke, 2 taels of gold per day. Afraid the door would slam, he fumbled out 2 small square ingots, each about 5 grams, gleaming nicely. Chung Dewey paused, softened, and said wait, then went to consult his partner. A moment later the door opened. "Come in." Delighted, Typhon hurried in. Crossing the threshold he felt the stark change in temperature. Outside was bone-piercing while inside warmth billowed and chased the chill. The money felt well spent. "It is freezing out there." He sat in a corner and complained, "A sneeze feels like freezing solid, exposed skin goes numb in moments. I have lived on the island for years and never met weather like this, truly cursed." "Hang in there." Tahan replied lightly, knowing few would last until day 20. He shook his head at the bleak future, yet the piles of snacks, firewood, and cold gear soothed him. At 9 in the morning the system's mechanical voice announced, Day 14, hail today, low of -30 degrees, the weak are prone to frostbite, stamina over 80 grants immunity. Fist-sized hail hammered down at once. Fear flashed in his eyes and he muttered, will ice knives fall next? Who knows? Chung Dewey shrugged. Then faint cries rose downstairs, anyone there, is the landlord here? Someone is calling you. Tohan reminded him. Typhon shook his head hard. Going out now is asking to freeze, the empty rooms are open, take any room, the landlord is too busy to collect rent. Tohan was left speechless. Soon the voices faded, perhaps they left or found a room on their own. She looked out to a silver-white sheet with no one on the street. She shook her head, sat still, and waited out the cold surge. Staying put meant safety, but for the unprepared the cold wave hit like a hammer. At 9 the next morning the system said day 15, the cold surge ends, temperatures rise. She paused, no debuff, then realized low stamina means frostbite, and without medical care the status clings to the player as a continuous debuff. Outside climbed to about 10 degrees, not spring-like yet far better than before. Relieved, Tythyn stood and said politely, "It is warming, I should return to my room, thanks for taking me in for 2 days." "As you should," said Chung Dewei evenly. After thanks he left. Chung Dewei doused the fire and asked, "What about you?" "I will go back to my room, contact me if needed." Tahan waved, took her things, and left. Days with 2 men made real rest impossible and she longed to sleep alone. Alone at last. Chung Dewei locked door and windows and fell straight asleep. The man's presence had kept him on guard the whole time. Tahan slept like the dead for about a day and a night, then on the second day the system woke her. Day 16, a tempest hits, abnormal weather, temperature suddenly jumps to 30 degrees, mosquitoes explode in number. She set aside a storage chest, stuffed in coat and quilts, then pondered the next hurdles. High summer storm as the backdrop. She propped her chin. Mosquito bites may cause a debuff, heat leads to dehydration, and the storm. She fell silent. With that thought she could not sit still, she stood to scout for an inflatable boat. Outside the deep snow was melting quickly, she walked the street eyeing markets, stalls, and shops. The road was eerily quiet, empty everywhere as if no one remained, storefronts all shut with not a single shop open. She roamed long yet never found a market. She muttered inside, how many failed to hold on, why did the island look dead? She had just returned to the hotel when the sky turned black and rain poured down, thunder drummed like an orchestra. What is happening out there? Afraid of bandits he dared not go out, yet curiosity gnawed, so he asked the tenant. No idea, I walked a loop and met no one. Tahan shook her head. Did everyone die? The words spooked him and he clammed up at once. Who can say? Tahan thought that if all had died it was not so bad, at least no player raids to fear. Why am I so unlucky to be stuck in this mess? He lamented with a bitter face. Lasting until now already takes great luck. With that Tahan hurried back to rest, sensing the last days would be hard and she needed full strength. The downpour raged all day and only grew stronger. At dusk she checked and found standing water already up to the calves. Why is water flooding the hotel? Panic clawed at him. Keep staying on the first floor and I may have to fish you out tomorrow morning. Tahan said lazily. He went silent long before stammering no way. If you are not worried then keep staying there, she said mildly, I have warned you. He switched to a roundabout tone, better safe than sorry, I can get flooded and that is one thing, but the supplies must not, absolutely not. The phrase means big things are not scary, the fluke accident is. He feared food and gear would be ruined by water, worse if reserves floated away. If anything happened he could only hope the guardian beast's halo would keep him safe. Author's note, the third instance is a sea disaster, the fourth is wilderness survival, the total is expected to be 9 to 10 instances with possible change. Chapter 23, Cataclysm 11. Tythyn bustled about moving rooms while Tahan watched and swatted a big mosquito in a flash. Seeing that, Tythyn felt a deep sense of safety and sped up the move. Chengdu stepped out and asked, Do you have a rope? Any kind of cord is fine? Tythyn started and answered, There is one in the kitchen. Chengdu said without ceremony, Bring it here. So Tythyn stopped hauling things and sprinted to the kitchen to find the rope. Planning to make a raft? Tahan asked. Chengdu flinched and sighed, Sure enough I cannot fool you. Tahan murmured, Shops are closed so we cannot buy a rubber boat. I also thought of making one, but is it not too early now? I want a first attempt and then a few more for options. I also fear the shameless system and that one night the water will reach our door, said Chengdu. Then I will help. What materials will you use? Tohan offered. I scouted and saw good bamboo in the nearby park. I plan to cut it for a bamboo raft. Chengdu had a plan. Tohan pointed at the dark sky and pouring rain and said, "Are you sure you can go cut bamboo in this weather? Suffer now rather than be soaked later. Bamboo is the best material for now." Chengdu replied. "Then you go, I will think of other methods." Tohan refused to wait in rain. Tai Thin returned with the cord and found no Chengdu and asked, "Where is that guy?" Tohan said, "He rushed out, give it to me." Tai Thin handed it over and kept moving goods. Tohan tossed the cord into room 502 and then wandered the motel. Since Tai Thin allowed paying rent with items, tenants clearly decreased. After the storm and hail, some could not endure and turned into white light. Some left the motel to seek other ways and vanished. Now, aside from one tenant moving from floor 2 to floor 4, all others shut their doors and nested in rooms. Tai Thin smiled to please. Floor 5 has 2 guests, they are VIP, for safety I do not allow others to move up, the whole floor is ours. Tohan understood the landlord lived on floor 5 and did not want strangers near and only said good. She toured the empty rooms and formed a rough plan. While plotting, Chengdu returned drenched like a rat. Bamboo cutting went poorly? Tohan arched a brow and smiled. Patting rain from his shoulders, Chengdu grumbled, "I was not foolish enough to cut alone. I planned to pay food to hire cutters, but I saw no one. I knocked door after door and no answer. Midday looked like midnight, rain blurred vision, water was near knee deep and movement was hard, so I came back." "That is grim, but yes, this is the late game," Tohan said. She pointed at an empty room and said, "Some rooms have soft beds and some have wood beds, take planks to make a boat." Chengdu blinked and said, "I know it can make a boat, but it is not ideal, wood soaks and sinks while a bamboo raft floats longer." Tohan shrugged, "No other choice now, so grit our teeth." "True." Chengdu yielded and went to explain to Tai Thin. The three got busy. Soon trouble arose. Tohan propped her chin, "We need a hammer and screws." Tai Thin scratched his head, "But we have no hammer or screws, what do we do?" Chengdu spoke heavy, "If nothing else we sit on planks and drift. That is unsafe, the center of mass will tip." Tohan doubted. "Do you have a better idea?" he asked. "With scarce materials and no tools, a plank boat is optimal and taking doors off is not much better." Tohan fell silent. Tai Thin coughed to ease things, "Maybe it stops raining tomorrow, we are on floor 5 and fairly safe." Chengdu stayed silent. He would not trust the system to lower the difficulty, but he had no other plan yet. "Haste is useless, watch the situation then decide," said Tohan and returned to her room. The air was stifling and hard to breathe. She breathed deep yet only grew irritable. She opened the window for a breeze. But the breeze brought uninvited guests. Bzz bzz. Several mosquitoes darted inside and droned. Perhaps provoked, they flew faster and one buzzed her ear. She swept a book near her ear and muttered, "No air con, no fan, no coils, no net, how do I live?" Power was out, so the room was dim. She could barely see the pests and only lightning gave brief light. She wanted to light a candle, but insects follow heat and light, so she dared not. A lone lit room with open windows would lure mosquitoes from across the island. Note that it means they follow heat and light. "I must choose," she murmured. An open window gives cool air but invites mosquitoes, a closed one is stifling, but after swatting them it turns quiet, which pain to pick. She decided to open the window for a short while to cool the room and then shut it tight. Then she lit a candle at the center and began sterilizing. Mosquitoes are vexing, tiny, fast, and love corners. Finding them is hard, let alone wiping them out. She stood on a chair to strike those on the ceiling and then crept to a corner to finish an ambush. When the buzzing ceased, she collapsed in fatigue. At dawn her arm itched, she scratched and then saw 4 swollen welts and a smear of blood with a corpse. Clearly it was caught mid-attack and she crushed it in revenge. Mosquitoes hiding in corners are nearly impossible to purge, she fretted, yet one greedy mosquito is better than a whole pack staring like wolves. Ha! She glanced at the status bar and found something odd. Satiety was 70%, cleanliness was 85%, stamina was 90%. Condition read good but bitten by mosquitoes. A bite gives a debuff, she muttered inside. Without green oil that can clear mosquito bite, how to endure the later stage? She used the bomb at once, stamina rose by 20 and the bite state vanished. She suddenly recalled, if I am not wrong, we looted the pharmacy clean at the start, right? She fell silent. In other words, without system shop supply or the rookie instance stock, others must suffer the bite state. She lit a candle in her heart for peers, yet also felt lucky for acting fast. The system voice chimed. Day 17, abnormal weather and temperature keep rising, maximum is 35 degrees. Due to the heat, glaciers melt and sea level keeps rising. Tohan ran to the corridor and saw floor 1 fully flooded and floor 2 soon to drown, and anyone in the lobby would be soaked. Tai Thin shuddered. Lucky we moved, else drowning in sleep was possible. Tohan did not answer. She frowned. It is only day 17, how do we live to day 20? Books. Do our best and leave the rest to fate. At some point Chengdu stood beside her and whispered. She understood at once, failing the challenge reward is fine and better than losing eligibility. She pursed her lips and waved to my room. Chengdu followed calmly. Tai Thin felt he had heard something he should not. In room 501, Chengdu stood aside as Tohan pushed furniture away and took from her inventory several quilts and pillows plus plastic wrap and tape. Do not worry, we can do this, she said. I often watch survival shows and one episode made a boat to cross a river with limited materials. I toured the hotel, quilts came from empty rooms and wrap and tape from the kitchen, and nobody knows. Come help, the workload is huge. Chengdu felt that if help was not needed she would not call him, and his face turned wry. Without looking she explained, I will not tell others about the handmade boat, only you and I know. With a non-player along it is awkward to take items from the inventory, and with other players there are more people and more problems, and with many aboard one saboteur ruins the raft. So what is your final decision? He checked. We make 2 quilt boats, 1 main and 1 spare, only we 2 board because others are not trustworthy, she said and urged, if you agree then help, the system is more shameless than I thought and the water rises fast. Feeling trusted, Chengdu rolled his sleeves. Tell me what to do. Tohan guided. Fold quilts tight and tape them, then wrap many layers of plastic to. Waterproof. Doing it alone is highly inconvenient. For example, he holds the quilt and she tapes fast, or he steadies the fixed bundle and she wraps swiftly. Alone she would need 3 or 4 hours at least. She was truly glad to recruit him as the muscle. She announced a short break and then the second boat. Chengdu examined the quilt boat and found the result decent. Suddenly Tohan asked, without quilt boats would you really sit and drift on planks? She had wanted to ask since yesterday, for in her view such a strong player should not accept the plot helplessly. Chengdu sighed. No flour no cake, without materials he was stuck. Tohan was unconvinced, but he shifted the topic. Even on planks we would not wait to die. There are ways to improve the situation, just as hiding in the rookie forest is not equal to seeking death. That makes sense. Tohan mused. They rested and then worked on. At that time the tape was running low. It will do. Tohan agreed and generously let her partner choose first. The more plastic layers the better the seal, but she did not fuss and grabbed one at random and stored it, and Chengdu took the other. The author notes that you may reference the quilt boat of Song Ji-hyo's team in Running Man episode 187. Chapter 24, The 12th Calamity. Early on the 18th morning after waking up, Tohan looked out the window. As expected, heavy rain was still pouring. The dark clouds had dispersed, sunlight shone brightly. Without candles one could see the surroundings. She drank milk, ate bread with buttermeat, then the system voice came. Because the temperature rose, glaciers melted, the sea level continued rising. Apart from this, there was no explanation. Up to now the game had shown many debuffs, such as, because the air quality was poor people might suffer rhinitis, cleanliness above 60 would be immune. Because the wind was too strong weak people could be blown away, fullness above 60 would be immune. Because the island ecology was destroyed, every resident lost 15 stamina each day. If unlucky to be bitten by mosquitoes, then an extra mosquito bite debuff would appear. Level 1 players could not survive in such environment, only level 2 players had a chance. Water had flooded the third floor and climbed to the fourth. Low houses had sunk, tall ones were only a matter of time. The water was dirty with trash bags, chairs, wrappers, even fish swam freely and 2 cans of soda floated. Tomorrow it may flood the 5th floor. Tahan murmured, even with a boat, where could one go? Before she thought, more noises came from the corridor. The 4th floor is flooding, why not let us move to the 5th? We already paid rent. Living on the same floor is fine, right? Tai Thin replied, the 5th floor is mine, not for rent. But tenants refused, the 4th will sink soon, do you want us waiting to die? He wanted to say it was his inn, if not fine they could leave, yet they threatened him. No one could stop them moving. Forget it. Tohan went near, whispered, lives are threatened, they will not compromise. Chengdu saw 2 men arguing, then said, fine, move up but stay on the right side of stairs, if cross left it means hostile. Why? One man protested, but the other pulled out a gun. Stop talking, hand over all food and supplies. A gun? Tahan was shocked, thinking where they found it. She is pro player, never saw such. The man sneered, no intention to spare. A white light flashed, Tai Thin vanished. Tahan froze, so he was a player. Seeing danger he quit. Too fast, the gunman stood stunned, his mate scolded, told you be calm, now the prey fled. They ignored Tahan and Chengdu, thinking themselves stronger. She frowned, mind racing. It was the 18th day, survivors over 12 days could reach level 2, so strength equal, only they had a gun. He fired 2 shots, then said, you 2 are players, right? Your ally abandoned you, obey and I may let you die quickly. When not in combat, players could log out, but once attacked they could not. Tai Thin escaped by surprise, now they were trapped. Tohan considered options, never giving up. Chengdu whispered, man left, woman right. She grimaced, his meaning clear, each took one, but right side was the gunman. She breathed deeply, telling herself dragging down one was fine. Hurry, hand over supplies. The gunman pressed his gun to her chest. Chengdu quietly counted 3, 2, 1. He threw a kitchen knife at the gunman, then rushed the other. The blade gleamed, making the gunman dodge. Tahan instantly closed in, left hand pushed the barrel up, right hand stabbed his belly. He groaned, yet still aimed at her head. She coldly blocked, stabbing again. At such moment the weaker lost. He never expected such a petite girl so fierce, abandoning defense. Yet he sneered, squeezed the trigger. Ah! She gritted teeth, dagger thrust harder. Her stamina 76, his 71. Books. He wondered why a pistol stronger than a dagger made him weaker, then realized dagger to vital double damage while his shot at arm was normal. He changed tactic, one hand gripping hers, other aiming vital, but she put dagger away, clasped both hands on the trigger, forcing barrel upward. Damn! He cursed. The fragile girl had unexpected strength. The pistol only held 8 bullets, once used. Needed reload. As they struggled, suddenly his leg was kicked, making him fall. Chengdu had finished the other and came helping. So reassuring to entrust me, ha? Tohan complained. He replied, do not belittle yourself, you are strong. She inwardly annoyed, knowing her strength but not equal to a gun. Chengdu seized the gun, asked coldly, where did you get it? He stammered, it is my talent, chance to get weapons. And bullets, give all. She demanded. He said, I have 30 bullets left, let us leave safely, then I will give. They exchanged looks, next second she slit his throat, Chengdu shot his heart, he turned into white light gone. Chengdu examined the gun, asked, do you want it? She thought, useless, you keep it, finish the other then bandage me. She raised her bloody hand. Okay. Soon the last enemy vanished. Chengdu took medical kit, treating her. He remembered, this scene is familiar, only last time I was injured. Stop talking, hurry up. She snapped in pain. It is only a game, not real death. She pretended brave but regretted pain felt real. Talking lightly, the wound was bandaged. Unexpected, Tai Thin is a player. She shifted topic. He suggested, shall we check his room? He always disguised as NPC, meaning even with storage he left supplies outside. Go. She led. The door was locked, Chengdu kicked it open. Inside were piles of goods, soap, shampoo, noodles, rice flour, sweets, meat, milk. She mused, either too rich or no storage. He said, either way we profit, share 6-4, you 6. He yielded since she was wounded. She agreed fine. After dividing they searched the 4th floor, found little bread and 3 sodas. You lack food, take it. She offered. Thanks. He accepted. Looking downstairs, water fully covered the 3rd floor. She asked, tomorrow we must use boat, where go? He said, I prepared, just survive on boat, later decide. He was calm with confidence. She smiled, I think so too, whatever hardship we will pass and clear the instance. On the 19th day the system voice announced, flood outbreak, island severely polluted, every resident loses 15 stamina. Meaning even without action they lost 30 on waking. She muttered, again must risk life. In her storage she had 4 milk, 1 black bread, 1 buttermeat bread, 1 chocolate cake. Her talent triggered giving double food. She ate chocolate, then met Chengdu. Ready? Yes, let us go. They boarded a boat, he handed her a folding umbrella, take it. She accepted. They rowed out of the inn. Rain fell but no wind, so the boat drifted smoothly. Yet clothes were soaked, uncomfortable, cramped space made annoyance. The boat drifted slowly, around only water, like only they existed. Splash waves soaked their clothes. She quietly waited for day 20. Slap, Chengdu killed a mosquito. After bitten it itches badly. He said seriously. She was speechless. The system declared island polluted, epidemic spreads, every resident loses 50 stamina. She muttered, in newbie instance there was immunity, now directly minus 65, too cruel. His eyes bright, he asked, if cleanup progress over 90%, what happens? She said, maybe no epidemic, if under 10% then minus 100, but reaching 90 too hard. He laughed, I do not plan to change, only think the design is fun. Then he folded umbrella, it is sunny. She looked up, saw blue sky, no clouds, thought the ordeal ending. On the 20th morning at 12 the system voice resounded, stage 2 ended, congratulations on extreme challenge cleared. You received extra reward. All survivors will be transported away. A white flash came, she returned to the mist. Chapter 25, Calamity 13. A transparent panel appeared before Tahan, and it read. Name, Tahan, real name verified. Level, 2, experience 15/30. Profession, nutritionist, intermediate aptitude, experience 15/30. Satiety, 240/240? No, it first showed 220/220. Cleanliness, 220/220. Stamina, 220/220. Then the mechanical voice sounded, the system is processing, please wait. After about half a minute, it continued, you have received 20 days survived, times 5 equals 100 points. You obtained an extra reward, you may choose 2 of the following options as your prize. A. Experience plus 5. B. Receive a deluxe gift pack containing 10 bottles of mineral water, 10 buttermeat breads, 10 soaps, and 5 rolls of gauze. C. Raise the caps of satiety, cleanliness, and stamina by 20 each. Tahan lacked no supplies. After the second round she was more clear-headed and realized that high attributes are crucial. At once the text on the panel changed. Name, Tahan, real name verified. Level, 2, experience 20/30. Profession, nutritionist, intermediate aptitude, experience 20/30. Satiety, 240/240. Cleanliness, 240/240. Stamina, 240/240. Points, 100. After choosing, the mechanical voice announced, You have cleared the stage. Please join round 3 of the contest at 8 in the morning tomorrow.
NK Books.
With that, the player exited automatically and the game cabin opened slowly. Stepping out, Tahan browsed the forum to see how others had fared. The forum was a sky full of wailing. Trash game, I volunteered and got hit badly by a car, in the end I died for lack of medical supplies, who would believe such bad luck? I was swept up by a tornado because I ate without reaching satiety, I am mentally exhausted and speechless. I hoarded food and gear, but not cold-proof items. Ha ha ha, when I could not endure, I suddenly leveled up, all 3 attributes refilled to max, such good luck. After the tornado, because cleanup progress was below 35%, a mid-tier debuff triggered, the island ecology collapsed, and every island resident lost 40 stamina per day. If not for that brutal mid-tier debuff and the heavy medicine drain, I could have cleared. I burned almost all inventory to pass, and the extra reward was a personal stash, I cried, at last I have a personal stash. NPCs and players are hard to tell apart, I got trapped more than once. I survived to day 19 and thought I would pass smoothly, all 3 attributes auto-refilled to full, but on the morning of day 20 the mid-tier debuff cut 40 stamina and the plague debuff cut 60 stamina, straight to game over. I had medicine in my stash, but being lazy I did not use it and got knocked out in one wave, clean exit, this person has gone mad, do not mind them. Refreshing the forum, Tahan saw that every unlucky player had a sorrow of their own. She had not expected so many special ways to die. Seeing the last post, she tensed and set a private rule, keep stamina above 75%, no one knows what will happen in the next second. Accidents may strike with no time to react, sweeping players away in one go. Fortunately, after the earlier lesson, the cheerful good guy warrior who shared tips vanished without a trace. As for survival tricks, everyone chose to keep silent. 52 million joined round 2, 15.7 million cleared, in other words the elimination rate was nearly 70%, the game grows harsher. According to stats there were 824 total full clears. Are those 800 people even human? Did they all undergo special training? I want to watch the clear videos of the bosses, I am on my knees begging for videos. In filthy, cluttered environments cleanliness drops very fast, likewise heavy labor drains satiety fast. Without a personal stash players have no human rights, how is this still playable? Another user declared, I discovered a world-shaking secret, practically a system bug, with it I can clear Dungeon 3 smoothly, become a boss in one step, and stride to the peak of life, brothers await my good news tomorrow. Replies flooded in. It is over, the poster finished playing and went crazy, not even medicine can buff him. Color me curious, I will sit and wait for tomorrow. I only want to say, using hacks deserves a ban, poster mind your safety, if couriers, random visitors, or meter checkers come to your door these days, do not open. A world-shaking secret. Tahan murmured, deeply curious. Still, she would not reveal her own findings, and neither would others. Even if the poster returned, they could likely only say success or failure without details. A congregation of survival fanatics painted an ethereal vibe. Someone vowed, I will stockpile like crazy in peacetime, even heavy fog cannot shake my faith in hoarding. Another cheerfully said, I lived long yet never saw such colossal fog and raging cyclones, I am thrilled, pity I failed to stash cold gear and had to leave early, otherwise I would love to feel what drifting on water is like. One person boasted, fog, cyclones, cold fronts, hail, gales, and floods, I have faced them in real life, a mere game is easy, I will clear in a snap. Tahan skimmed the Mad Survival Forum, then the Infinite Survival Game Forum, and felt as if people lived in 2 separate worlds. At 8 in the morning, contestants checked in on time. The next second the system voice rang, welcome to the Infinite Survival Game, you currently have 100 points, do you want to enter the shop? Tahan chose, agree. The shop panel popped up and she began to buy with practiced ease. In round 2 she had purchased many items and casually accepted Tai Thin's stockpile, so her personal stash overflowed and needed little topping up. She saved some points for medicine and spent the rest on weapons. In the end she bought a sword and a wooden staff 1 meter long, and even snapped up a desert eagle with 20 bullets. She thought that though she could not aim well, she could fight up close, and she could press the gun to someone's head, that surely would not miss. Her reserves were as follows: 100 bars of soap, 100 bottles of spring water, 100 buttermeat breads, 69 bags of steel pellets, 1 blanket boat, 1 food chest holding instant noodles, candy, chocolate, biscuits, rye bread, cow's milk, and spring water, 1 daily goods chest with soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste, and body wash, 1 medical chest with 10 rolls of medical bandage, 10 boxes of anti-inflammatory drugs, 10 boxes of ointment, and 10 vials of green oil, 1 tools chest with 1 backpack, 2 slingshots, 1 fishing rod, loose steel pellets, 4 candles, 5 lighters, 1 magnesium rod, 1 firestone, 1 sword, 1 wooden staff, 1 desert eagle, 20 bullets, 1 dagger, and some gold jewelry. 1 cold-proof chest with quilts, snow boots, padded pants, fur coats, scarves, hats, gloves, and camel wool rugs. She disliked wasting time. After buying, she closed the panel at once. The system asked, "Preparation is complete, do you wish to enter now?" She chose without hesitation, "Agree." White light flashed and she entered round 3. Inside, the system briefed, "This round is an ocean disaster survival scenario, do your utmost to live. Notice 1, survive today 10 to meet the clear condition, you may request exit at any time. Notice 3, the more days you survive the greater the rewards. Notice 4, complete the extreme challenge by surviving 15 days here to obtain an extra reward, after 15 days all survivors will be auto-transferred out. Notice 5, cruise ship C23, your shard, hosts 800 players and 200 resident NPCs. Notice 6, from 9 this morning the ocean disaster officially begins. Notice 7, your room is 201 and you have the key." Tohan fell silent. She was rich, richer than ever since entering the game, yet the briefing gave her a hunch that money would be useless here. She surveyed the surroundings and found a luxury cruise ship with free entertainment and a buffet all day and night. After some thought, she took a lap around the ship. Library, chess room, casino, every pastime was present, yet after half a day she found nowhere to spend money. At last she decided to eat her fill at the self-serve buffet. She took a small square of tiramisu to taste and found it good. She then took 2 skewers of goat meat, 3 skewers of grilled wings, and 3 skewers of grilled tofu, and ate contentedly in a corner. As time passed, the dining hall grew crowded. Quietly observing, she noted many panic-stricken faces. Author's note: the number of days to free exit is not fixed at 20, for the ocean disaster dungeon it is 15. A reader said that Tai Thin must be suspicious because the author named him. The author replied that this made sense and could not be refuted. Chapter 26, Sea Disaster 1. Based on her experience from the previous 2 games, as soon as the match began, the system would always grant players a short time for supplies. Unexpectedly, in the 3rd stage, though she had plenty of gold and silver, there was no place to spend it. In her storage, Tohan had enough stock, so she stayed calm. Thus, the ones panicking were certainly the other players. At 9 o'clock, the system announced, "Magnetic field anomaly detected, compass malfunction, yacht lost direction." Tohan immediately realized the gravity of the situation. Big yachts usually docked periodically for supplies, but losing direction meant they would never reach shore again. Food would run out, fresh water would dry up, and despair would approach. Worse, this instance had 800 players and 200 NPCs. Knowing this was a game, players wouldn't sit and wait for death. When lacking food and water, they would find ways, and chaos would ensue. Thinking about it, Tohan sighed. She only wanted to play alone offline, yet someone always dragged her into the mess. A system notice rang out, buffet time adjusted to 10:30 to 12:30, 17:30 to 19:30. Please spread the word. Then murmurs followed. For the 1,000 people aboard, how long can supplies last? Tohan shook her head. The difficulty was rising fast. Just entering the 3rd act, everything was already chaotic. There was a water purifier in the canteen, and many lined up to fetch water. Since Tohan had enough resources, she avoided fighting for it, ate grilled food, and returned to rest. In room 106, 3 men gathered. Wei Zhong, how's the plan? I poisoned all drinking water. In at least 3 to 10 hours, whoever drinks will be poisoned. Wei Zhong said flatly. Will it still work when diluted? One asked. Wei ignored him. The third man, Gu Siyuan, smiled. Relax, Dingikai, we've tested it. The poison description read, deadly after dilution, 50 milliliters cause mouth burns, nausea, 100 cause cramps, coma, bleeding, 200 lead to death after 3 hours. Best part is, only poisoned people see that info. Others just read bottled water, 20 liters. Dingikai relaxed. Incredible. 1 bottle could wipe out the ship. He grinned coldly. Most people will drink anyway. Gu chuckled. Then we only finish the job. Rescue will never come, he added. Supplies are limited, we can't save all. But if only a few remain, survival is easy. He sneered. Even if we can't kill all 997 others, reducing competitors helps. Suffer a few days, and 10 days later, it'll be a vacation. He smiled. Once the plan succeeds, clearing the instance will be easy. At 17:30, Tahan went to the dining hall, only to see a few dozen people eating. What's going on? She muttered. Free food and water should attract everyone. She took some fries, sat in a corner watching. Crash! A glass fell. A woman fainted. Staff rushed her away, smiling, probably heatstroke. Tahan lowered her gaze, hiding shock. She saw the display, fullness 86%, cleanliness 81, stamina 63, status, food poisoning. Food poisoning? She stared at her empty plate, nauseated. She no longer wanted buffet food. After calming, she wondered, was this scripted or player-made? She approached the infirmary. Through the door crack, she saw someone stab a patient's heart. The body turned into white light. The sight froze her, but she stayed silent. Inside, Gu Siyuan whistled, another one down. Tahan checked, only him there. She quietly drew her club, sneaked up, and struck hard. Sure. He rolled away, avoiding the next blow. A woman, he gasped. Tahan said nothing, gripping tighter. Hey, what do you want? Rob me? He yelled. She ignored him and attacked. He lunged with his dagger, aiming for her heart, but she dodged and countered. Blows rained down, dropping his stamina to 12%. She finally spoke coldly, I ask, you answer. Lie, and I kill you. He cursed inwardly. Fine, ask. Name. Gu Siyuan. What did you do after entering? Nothing. What about your partners? He froze, then shouted, wait, I'll talk. Quickly. A teammate poisoned bottled water. Anyone who drinks will be poisoned. What poison can affect 1,000 people? A rare toxin from talent skill. She thought, then asked, how many dead now? Over 200. How many partners, names? He sneered, kill 1, you're a criminal. Kill 10,000, a hero. It's just a game, only winning matters. NK Books. Let me go. She stayed silent, pulled a dagger. Good. He smiled, then she stabbed his heart. Even in a game, I'll live upright. Different paths, no cooperation. She said calmly. You fool, he yelled. I play how I want, not your business, she replied. His body vanished in white light, face still unyielding. Chapter 27, Disaster at C2. After the fight, Tahan left the infirmary and at the corner a fierce gust slammed in. Startled, she swung her dagger by reflex. The blade pressed to Zhong Du's neck while a gun aimed at Tahan's temple. The two companions met by accident. Zhong Du? Seeing him, Tahan froze. It's you. Zhongdu relaxed a bit and released her, yet he wondered why she came out of the infirmary. He had heard there was an ambush there hunting players, so he rushed over and happened to meet her. "Do not bring it up." Tahan said grimly that a crazed crowd poisoned the water and attacked passengers at will. She passed by, saw a beating, questioned the culprit, and sent him flying to death. Poisoning. Zhongdu was choked, thinking lunatics were everywhere. There must be accomplices, but how many? The guy refused to tell. Tahan said low, "It is dire." He claimed 200 to 300 were dealt with. Even more. Zhongdu's face was blank. Did he lie to me? Tahan doubted. She trusted her sense for lies. Zhongdu said each word, killed by their own hands might be only 200 to 300, but those implicated will be far more. What do you mean? Tahan sensed trouble. Zhongdu pointed behind him and said the other side had turned into chaos. Tahan's eyelids twitched non-stop. He added that many had drunk from the crate of spring water, at least over 500. Not much different. His tone was heavy. Even at my best I was robbed 5 times, they are mad beyond words. Tahan felt weighed down. Find a place to rest, talk in the morning. That is all we can do. They entered room 201 to rest. All night the corridor was noisy and sometimes screams burst out. Zhongdu kept his eyes shut to conserve strength. Tahan could not sleep and stared wide until dawn. Once someone kicked the door of room 201 brutally. Just as Tahan prepared to fight, footsteps rushed away and silence fell. A sleepless night. At dawn Tahan checked her stats and found something wrong. Satiety 84%, cleanliness 85%, stamina 92%, status good, poisoned. You inhaled some toxic gas, stamina -1 per hour. Tahan almost snapped. Why was there toxic gas? She woke Zhongdu in haste. Toxic gas. He casually took out a pill. Here, antidote. She accepted it, eyed it for a while, then looked up. Your job is doctor, right? And you? Zhongdu asked back. Nutritionist. She answered briskly. What talent? He pressed. She showed her job, nutritionist, intermediate talent. In each dungeon each day there is a 45% chance to get a meal of 1 bottle of milk and 1 black bread, a 10% chance to get a luxury meal of 3 bottles of milk, 1 buttered bread, and 1 deluxe chocolate cake, and a 1% chance to get a super rare food. Then Zhongdu, doctor, intermediate talent. In each dungeon each day there is a 45% chance to get common medicine, a 10% chance to get rare medicine, and a 1% chance to get super rare medicine. Both were very practical. Tahan swallowed the antidote and exhaled with relief. Let us take a look outside. Zhongdu led the way. They met a familiar face and Tahan blurted, Taithin. Crazy, all crazy. Taithin muttered while shaking his head hard. His face was ashen as if he would suffocate. What is the situation? Zhongdu asked. Except oneself, everything is an enemy, everyone tries to kill each other. I said I just passed by yet no one believes me and they dragged me in. Taithin said. Why not hide? Zhongdu wondered. Taithin sneered at himself, no food, no daily supplies, no medicine, no personal stash, hiding is useless, once marked as eliminated sooner or later is the same, so I chose to be realistic. What is your talent? Tahan asked. He showed his sheet openly, name Taithin real name verified, level 2 with experience 20/30, satiety 152/200, cleanliness 143/200, stamina 32/200, job gemstone merchant. A normal gem is worth 8 to 12,000 Bay. I am not short of money, sadly the system bans trading. He shut his eyes in pain. Where did the 5-gram gold bar come from? Zhongdu asked. Redeemed with points in the shop. Right. Taithin said blankly, if you have money you can do it too. First meeting, players just joined not long and you already completed all procedures. Tahan doubted. Taithin explained calmly, at first it was real brokerage, buying the house came later, to get a job in disguise as a non-player character. I not only gave up salary but even paid the boss. He had no reason to refuse. In other words, he spent money to buy a job. Tahan sighed, so poor that only money is left, that is a realm. Tai Thin's eyelids twitched and he wanted to punch someone. He knew people differ in strength, yet when about to be eliminated fear still gnaws, even so he dared to tackle high difficulty. Suddenly Zhongdu asked, "How many gems do you still have on you?" Tai Thin shuddered and looked up. "What do you mean, why ask?" Zhongdu said coolly, "I can carry you to day 10, the question is whether you can pay." "Carry me, how?" Tai Thin was stunned. "Give some food and water to ensure you do not die. At day 10 you can teleport out and your 3 stats will refill." Tai Thin doubted, "Why should I trust you?" "Up to you," Zhongdu said. Tai Thin fell silent. He sounded eager to trade while the other was indifferent. Zhongdu thought a bit and offered, 2-part payment, books. Deposit and balance. The longer you stay the more gems you gain from talent. If you hand over all gems gained this round I will try my best to keep you safe, but to prevent you from hiding things, the deposit must be tempting. Tai Thin calculated fast. If the next dungeon is normal he can recover quickly by talent, and after clearing the 3rd dungeon he can also resupply in the shop. After weighing, he turned to Dahan, "And you, your offer?" If both competed to carry him he would hold leverage and price would be friendly. Dahan shook her head. She wanted to be an offline player and had no interest in carrying, besides her stash had plenty of jewelry to sell for supplies, so she was unmoved. Left with no choice, Tai Thin faced Zhongdu again. "Name your price." Zhongdu said calmly, "Show what you have, if you cannot pay we stop here." Under the eaves one must bow. Today he needed help to pass the trial. Resolved, Tai Thin removed all cufflinks and buttons from his shirt, in total 10 pieces, all rare stones, market price per piece from 200,000 to 500,000. Blue, black, and red cufflinks glittered. Tahan was surprised, grinding gems into buttons and sewing them on. "You really came up with that?" Tai Thin complained, "No choice, I entered late and failed to grab a personal stash." Born into chaos with a fortune on him, he lived each day in fear. Zhongdu picked a black cufflink and stroked it carefully, then nodded. 10 rare stones accepted. As for the next condition, do you agree? No problem. Tai Thin thought if he died now there would be no later. Live one more day is one day. Zhongdu took out antidotes, bandages, body wash, and biscuits, and raised Tai Thin's 3 stats to above 180. Do you know the situation of others on the ship now? Tahan asked. Dead must be about 7/10. Tai Thin estimated, with food and water on the ship, how many will use their own. After mutual slaughter many dragged each other to vanish. At that moment the system's mechanical voice rang, Crew C-23 has broken into a massive battle. There are now 117 survivors, 108 players and 9 non-player characters. Tohan was speechless. Zhongdu was silent. Just one day and only a bit over 100 remain. Chapter 28, Disaster at C3. In an instant the air fell silent, as if the whole yacht held its breath. After a long pause Tai Thin spoke carefully, from what I know a group is gathering on Deck 4 and seems to be expanding power. Players with some strength get recruited, those with no value are discarded, even silenced. What about you then? Chengdu asked. I had no value, but I ran fast so I was not silenced. Tai Thin said with a cocky air. Chengdu honestly had no idea what he was bragging about. On a yacht this small where could he even run? Tohan was speechless inside, it looked like she would have to PvP again. She only wanted to hunt, fish, and gather resources, yet she kept being dragged into these messes. The worst part was that there was no way to avoid them. It seems we must act first to keep others from causing chaos and seize control of the board. Chengdu sighed, only by holding control in our own hands can we keep things stable. Tahan disliked power struggles, yet she had to admit her teammate made sense. Just then the ship speakers crackled. Notice, the yacht is now under Moonfall Guild control, everyone must stay on decks 1, 2 and 3, anyone who climbs to deck 4 will be killed. Repeat, notice. Everyone aboard heard the broadcast. After thinking a moment, Chengdu offered a guess. They probably seized all supplies, enough to support their members to the end, so they want fewer hassles. I heard every barrel of spring water was poisoned. Tahan added calmly, so clean water can only come from existing stock. With that premise, if they gather too many underlings, clean water will not be enough. But if they have too few people, they will not be strong enough to control the ship. Even stuffed warehouses do not guarantee clearing the dungeon. Chengdu said casually, this is a sea instance. What if a gale hits? What if pirates attack? Typhon suddenly understood, so the top may not really go for total slaughter. Not necessarily. Tahan changed tone, smart heads think farther, simple heads may only think of killing all. At least we know Moonfall Guild will not make trouble for now. Typhon said with relief. But that does not mean others will not. Chengdu pointed subtly and mouthed, someone. I plan to return to my room, what about you? Tahan asked. I will take a walk and scout. Chengdu replied lazily. Tahan nodded, then we split up. She turned and left with easy grace. Chengdu waved and muttered, follow. Then he strode off first. The bodyguard had gone far, so the man gritted his teeth and chased. At 9 o'clock sharp the system chimed, day 2 of the game. There was nothing else. In her inventory, Tahan gained 3 bottles of milk, 1 buttermeat bread, and 1 chocolate cake. She glanced over them, locked the window, and went back to sleep. That nap lasted very long. Not until about 2 in the afternoon did she wake at ease. She opened the window, saw several people fishing on deck. They kept distance and watched each other but did not clash. After a bloody night, the few survivors finally seemed to regain their senses. Looking again, she spotted Chengdu and Typhon there too. Tahan yawned and sauntered onto the deck. Coo coo. A flock of pigeons flew overhead. She snapped awake, pulled out a sling and steel marble, aimed, and fired. Thud. The marble struck the left wing of a pigeon and it dropped. Perfect, pigeon soup for dinner, she thought. Yet before she could pick it up, someone leaped in first and snatched it, cheering, hey lucky me, food just fell from the sky. Tahan's face went cold and her voice colder, put the pigeon down, that is my prey. You. The burly youth sneered, how do you prove it? Tahan did not flinch and met his eyes, give the pigeon to you, give your life to me. The youth fell silent. He had never expected such steel from a small girl. Tahan softened slightly, while I am still in a good mood we can settle this the easy way. Do not touch what is not yours, that is. Basic NK decency. Books. To hell with your decency. The brute grinned viciously and stepped toward her. Tahan advanced instead of retreating. Idiot. He had just opened his mouth when a pistol jammed into it. The gun was Tahan's. Cold sweat beaded his brow. This pistol hits very hard, each attack deals 40 damage, and it is worth 50 points. Its ammunition is costly too, 1 point for 1 round. More importantly, it is a limited item with scarce stock. Each time the shop opens, only 100 are sold. With a barrel stuffed down his throat, a pull of the trigger would mean multiplied damage. Seeing the clash, Chengdu moved to help but realized the fight was over. His teammate held absolute advantage. Need any more proof? Tahan asked blandly. The pigeon. She held out her left hand. After taking it back, she drove a fierce kick into the brute and then holstered her gun before walking away. His face turned ashen, mind shackled by the fear of that muzzle. Are you stupid? A teammate ran up and scolded, do not think a girl is easy to bully. Anyone alive now is not easy prey. Starting a fight over a pigeon is peak stupidity. The brute shut his eyes in pain, knowing he had done something very foolish. Carrying the pigeon, Tahan walked back toward her team. Behind them her teammates were fishing. Typhon gazed up at her with open worship. Sister, you are truly a heroine. She handled matters crisply and with generous ease. He lowered his voice, what made you think of fishing? Chengdu said idly, bored, came to play a bit. How many did you catch? Tahan asked. 2, an eel and a squid, he said. Tahan tied the pigeon and started fishing. After 10 minutes she landed a yellow croaker. After 15 minutes she landed a grouper. After 23 minutes she landed a bass. The other 2 still had not landed a single fish. Chengdu glanced over. Are you cheating? No way. Tahan grumbled. This was clearly skill. Chengdu sighed. No wonder she rarely looked for teammates. Her survival and combat ability far exceeded ordinary people. After the 5th fish Tahan reeled in and called it a day. Any more would draw too much attention. She needed to keep a low profile. Tai Thin quickly helped carry the pigeon and a bucket. Chengdu said, You 2 go back first, I will stroll alone. Tai Thin tried to speak but was cut off as Chengdu said firmly, Head back, do not follow. Then he walked away with flair. Feeling thoroughly disliked, Tai Thin muttered in grievance, What embarrassing thing is he going to do exactly? He fell silent. In the buffet hall plates were a mess and trash littered the floor with no one to clean. From under a dining table came the sound of heavy breathing. Chengdu entered, shut the door, and said softly, Come out, I know you are hiding here. The breathing vanished and the room went dead quiet like it had been an illusion. Hiding will not save you. He strode over and lifted the tablecloth. A boy of about 16 or 17 crouched beneath, lips pressed in stubborn silence, face full of frustration. His body was weak and he could not run at all. Chengdu sat down at ease and asked lazily, Tell me, how did it come to this? The boy's throat burned, swallowing hurt, and every word felt like torture. Even so he forced out, The water is poisoned, my teammates knew and still forced me to drink. When he noticed the issue it was already late. Why? Chengdu asked with true curiosity. I want to know why too, the boy said stiffly, eyes flashing with disgust and hatred. He had an inventory and plenty of supplies, yet even after using up his medicine the poison state would not clear. He was basically doomed. I can save you, on the condition that you do one thing for me later. Chengdu said plainly, making the deal explicit. The boy's eyes lit up, but he kept reason, No problem, but I am poisoned, how will you save me? Chengdu set down an antidote pill, a bottle of water, a compressed biscuit, and a bottle of shower gel. The boy quickly used the antidote and finally shed the poison state. He exhaled in relief like returning to life, but still asked, You are not afraid I will go back on my word? Thinking of something he laughed, You are right, the ungrateful deserve punishment. Yet the smile was chilly and unfriendly, like he only wanted a fight. Remember your promise. Chengdu pushed the door open and left. The corner of his mouth tilted up. The poisoning had been so sudden that many fell into misery simply by bad luck, not by lack of strength. On the brink of death, if someone appears willing to save them, what happens next? A promise is still air, and for survival many will agree perfunctorily. But if even 1 or 2 keep their word, that is a bargain. 4 more. Chengdu murmured, then headed for his next target. Chapter 29, See Calamity 4. In the library a half-dead man leaned on a shelf and panted hard. Do you want to live? Chengdu appeared like a ghost, his voice cold. What do you mean? The young man tilted his head, sounding indifferent. He looked over 30, thin and bookish. I save your life, you do one thing for me. Chengdu spoke solemnly. The youth gave a crooked smile, taking advantage of chaos? Chengdu scoffed, It is a fair deal, no coercion, only valid when both agree. The youth relaxed and smiled, Sorry, you may be disappointed, my supplies were robbed, I have nothing left, I quit. A pity then. Chengdu said it calmly and turned away without hesitation. The young man's eyes flashed and he whispered, I need neither rescue nor promises. In the chess room a young woman rested in a corner, her stamina at about 23%, so she dared not show up. Need help? Chengdu sat not far away and looked harmless. Really? He continued evenly, Your stamina is low, death is close, your medicine is clearly gone, otherwise you would push it to a safe margin. You are lucky to meet me, but what about others, can you be sure to survive? Without waiting he added, I just want to trade, if you refuse then forget it. He stood to leave. Behind him she spoke, say it, what trade? Chengdu curved his lips, simple, I save you now, and you help me unconditionally later. She sneered and pressed, what if I die before you can use it? Chengdu stayed mild, then the investment fails, just bad luck. She was silent for a while, then said, change the terms, I will never be your enemy, and I will give you one protective undershirt. You give me medicine worth about 300 stamina points, any items are fine, so even if I die you do not lose much. Chengdu raised a brow, she clearly disliked owing favors, and he suddenly thought of Tahan. Naked too. He bargained. Her eyelids twitched and she raised her voice, it is a super rare armor, both stab-proof and bullet-resistant, there is no second one. Then give other rare defenses, 2 pieces. He retreated to advance. They settled it. Chengdu decisively laid out drugs, bandages, anti-inflammatories, ointments, and hemostatic powder. She whispered in disbelief, did you rob a pharmacy? Chengdu grinned, no robbery, I paid to sweep the shelves. She was speechless. After 2 days in the instance she finally felt safe again. He stowed the protective undershirt and asked, with armor why were you near death? She sighed and mocked herself, maybe a lone girl is easy prey, last night many people ambushed me, I burned through all meds, without the armor I would have fallen early. Good luck. Pleased by the windfall, Chengdu cared little about the vow of never being enemies. He went to the casino and the storage, the 2 grievously wounded patients he saw before were gone, rescued, bullied, or turned into white light, he did not dwell on it and returned to room 201. Tahan was cooking noodles, while Tai Thin chopped the chair into logs for the fire bowl. Tahan boiled mineral water, added the seasoning and noodles, then sliced fish and cut squid into pieces to simmer. The rich noodle smell with seafood aroma woke every hungry worm. She did not plate yet and handled the pigeons. Tai Thin turned away, afraid he would act cruelly if he kept watching, he forced himself to endure. Even without seeing meat soup the fragrance flooded his nose, he shut his eyes in torment like facing a trial. Knocks sounded and Chengdu called, it is me, open up. Tai Thin ran over in delight, thinking dinner could start. Entering, Chengdu smelled the unusual aroma and shut the door fast. Tahan said casually, you are here, dinner is ready, join us. Tai Thin rushed to ladle noodles, then recalled his place and sat straight, the bosses eat first, I will be last. Living off others is bitter and one must be tactful. Tahan was indifferent, order does not matter, food is plenty, if not we cook more. She served herself noodles, broth, squid feelers, and fish, and ate with ease. Chengdu also filled a bowl, inhaled deeply, then began. Tai Thin wanted a full meal but feared judgment and took half a bowl. You paid rent, eat at ease. Chengdu said suddenly. Really I can eat my fill? Tai Thin looked up with yearning. Eat, Chengdu said coolly, we caught many fish, we cannot finish them. He promptly grabbed more fish and ate happily. While eating Chengdu chatted, by my watch players likely will not brawl now, the field has stabilized. Tahan fell silent, you kidding, on the deck I was almost robbed. Chengdu felt odd, he had seen it, yet downplayed it, maybe the fight ended too quickly, so he corrected, skirmishes remain, but they are less frequent. These days we should fish and catch birds for meals. He grew serious, who knows how long they behave, once supplies run short they must fight for survival goods. Tahan nodded, I thought so too, on a yacht daily goods and fresh water are scarce, only the warehouse helps. The protective undershirt reduces damage on the upper body from cold and hot weapons. Tahan shook her head and tossed it back, no merit, no reward. The idiom means do not take gains without work. Chengdu was slightly displeased and threw it back, take it as dinner return. She was speechless and threw it back again, just a few fish, no need for an undershirt. Keep it. He insisted. Do not fuss. She held her ground. Tai Thin went numb and felt the meal becoming impossible. Chengdu steadied himself and spoke solemnly, put it away, it benefits both you and me, I am satisfied now and do not plan to change teammates. Tahan felt the scene was off, as if accepting the undershirt would earn endless gratitude, and they were not friends or teammates, only a bit more familiar than strangers, yet she finally took it, then thank you. His face softened and he ate on, while Typhon cursed the sugar show and turned grief into appetite. After the meal Tahan said, live separately. 3 in one room would ruin her sleep. Chengdu agreed briskly, rooms 202 and 203 are free, I and Typhon take one each, call if anything, next door can hear. Okay. Tahan answered lightly, and Typhon obeyed. Night fell. Tahan sat by the window with sea breeze and sorted her thoughts. The field was stable for now, yet hidden dangers remained. Thinking yielded no clue, she sighed and let go. There are too many puzzles, for now we live day by day. Chapter 30, Sea Disaster 5. In room 106, Din Not Kai was almost deranged as he snapped, it has been 3 days, why still no sign of Ko Tung Gwyn? Vi Trung's face turned heavy, and he slowly uttered, I fear the odds are grim. Din Not Kai snarled, among the three, only he has a personal stash, and the supplies are on him, how can he just vanish? Vi Trung's expression was ugly as he pressed his lips and forced calm, why lose your temper at me? I am on your side, we are trying to find a way. Find a way, my foot, we are about to die. Din Not Kai nearly broke down. Without enough food and water and without daily necessities in reserve, how can we last to the 10th day? We are doomed. In fact, fewer people than expected drank the tainted water. Many players noticed the anomaly early and even used the chance to rob. By the time they realized they could not act separately, Ko Tung Gwyn had already disappeared. They staged a grand scheme only to have the ship supplies seized by that moon guild. Now short on supplies, they were about to be eliminated. It was truly lifting a rock to smash their own feet. The more he thought, the angrier he got. Rage boiled and he longed to brawl. Vi Trung drew a deep breath and analyzed. After we failed to contact Ko Tung Gwyn, we robbed some folks. We have drinks like Sprite and Fanta. We have beef jerky and milk sticks. It is not as bad as you think. Calm down. Din Not Kai sneered. What about daily necessities? What is your plan? A cruel light flashed in Vi Trung's eyes. Once we find a proper target, we ambush. If that fails, we go big. He looked up at the ceiling as a hint. Din Not Kai's face sank. You mean hit the guild? Do not forget they have more than 20 people. Vi Trung scoffed. Only 20. My poison can kill hundreds in an instant. We only lack a chance. Hearing this, Din Not Kai finally relaxed and stood. At 9 o'clock the system chimed, the 3rd day of the game. Tohan received 4 bottles of milk, 1 loaf of black bread, 1 buttermeat bread, and 1 chocolate bun. Elsewhere Typhon's face turned liver-colored, his 1% innate skill chance triggered and he obtained an imperial emerald crystal about the size of a volleyball. Emerald is a natural gemstone ranging from green to bluish-green, symbolizing spring, vitality, and hope. Typhon clutched his chest as his heart ached. By his research, the gem had bright color and no inclusions, worth at least several million bay and possibly more than 10 million shells if sold, yet he had promised Chengdu to hand in all gems this round. Worse, he had no personal stash and nowhere to hide the stone. The thought tore at him. He shut his eyes, feeling that giving the gem away was like giving his beloved away. He groaned, gritted his teeth, and handed it over anyway. A super rare gem. Chengdu was surprised but did not stand on ceremony. He took it and tossed it into storage, then mercifully added, since it is super rare, skip the reward, keep the rest yourself. At last Typhon felt the super rare was valued properly. Go fishing. Chengdu invited his small teammate. Tahan shook her head. We still have yesterday's fish. I plan to stay put in my room for 2 days. All right then. Chengdu led Typhon out. The deck was bustling. Some people could not resist coming over. Anglers fished and hunters hunted, and no one disturbed each other. Typhon circled and found far more people on deck than yesterday. Some players even set up curbside stalls. Toothpaste, toothbrushes, perfumes, exchanging for medicine with food and drinks. Bottled mineral water, trading for food, daily goods, and medicine. As the third hawker cried out, the air fell quiet. Someone muttered, can anyone dare drink stream water from others these days? I would not. The stall owner, a young woman, snapped coldly, if one has poison, why put it in water? Food works too. Are you all stupid? Faces changed, and most people backed off from trading. The first skeptic laughed, then said blankly, "Keep it for yourself, kid. The woman did not mind when your stored water runs out. A few will risk a try even if unwilling. I will wait, after all water is life and humans cannot live without it." Chengdu found the voice familiar. Turning, he saw it was the woman who traded 2 bulletproof bras for a pile of medicine yesterday. Tai Thin whispered, "Using water to swap for food, daily goods, and drugs again. Did she stockpile a lot of water before? Who knows?" Chengdu did not care and kept fishing. At that moment hurried footsteps sounded, one person sprinted desperately, and 2 men followed close behind. One teased, "No one will save you, stop struggling and hand over the supplies." The speaker was Din Not Kai with his partner Ve Trung. Clearly they had chosen their prey. "Pick up the pace," ordered Ve Trung as he sped up, treating him like a subordinate irked Din Not Kai, but he hit it and jogged after. Cornered, the fugitive dashed into the library. Seeing only one door, his heart froze because there was no escape. "Who are you?" a lazy voice sounded. "I am Dien Triet," said the fugitive bleakly, "and you?" The other replied cleverly, "I am about to die, a name does not matter." Dien Triet fell silent. He noticed the youth leaning on a shelf with only 9% stamina left. Calling him a dying ember was not wrong. He had thought a helper was here and was disappointed. "If you entered by mistake, then go quickly. I wish to die quietly," said the young man with sincere expression. Dien Triet was speechless. He wished to leave him alone too. The problem was he could not escape. Then Din Not Kai and Ve Trung rushed in. "Do not waste time and strength, hand over your supplies," urged Din Not Kai. Dien Triet bit down and chose to fight, thinking he might drag one down with him. The youth's eyes dimmed as he asked Din Not Kai. Din Not Kai froze, studied him, and grumbled, "Have we met?" The crew's stream water was poisoned. Players who drank were affected, but they were greedy for freebies, the youth said clearly. Din Not Kai shuddered in fear. The youth sneered, "Thanks to you my teammates were all eliminated. I am half dead and near elimination too." "What is there to fear?" Ve Trung said coolly. "He is also near death." Din Not Kai felt awkward, then calmed, "You are right. You poisoned the water." Dien Triet could not believe it. "We did. Pity the plan had a small mishap," sighed Ve Trung. "Go to hell." Dien Triet fired a bolt. The arrow grazed Din Not Kai's right arm and blood flowed. Tisk, troublesome. In a 2 versus 1 the prey was merely thrashing. Din Not Kai ignored bandaging, drew a dagger, and lunged, while Ve Trung took out a pouch of toxic powder that on use reduced stamina by 10 and could blind a target for 10 minutes. Dien Triet failed to dodge and was dusted. His eyes burned and would not open. A kick to his belly made him drop the crossbow. The youth picked it up, aimed calmly, and the bolt struck Ve Trung's shoulder so blood streamed. With a mocking curl of his lips he murmured, "Cannot win, can you?" Then he pulled 5 high-yield explosives from his chest. This item harmed all creatures within 5 meters and reduced stamina by 40 on use. 1 pouch cut 40, 5 cut 200, and to avoid an extra reward case after a dungeon clear he had first depleted their health before drawing the bombs. These were limited stock, unlike the batch sales that offered only 50 each time. He had bought them with the mindset of dragging down anyone who tried to kill him, and now they were useful. "Maniac," Ve Trung shouted to warn his partner and bolted. The youth smiled more smugly. Before he finished, the bombs roared, shelves shattered, the library caught fire, and the 4 inside turned into white light and vanished together. Sitting at home yet struck by a falling disaster, Tahan was sipping milk in her room when the ceiling collapsed. Flames and heat waves rushed in and her skin stung. Without thinking, she flung the door open and sprinted away from danger. Once on deck and sure she was safe, she found that even with a protective bra her stamina had dropped by 54 points and she had the burn debuff. Tahan was dumbfounded. She could not fathom what had just happened. Chapter 31, Disaster at C6. Only now did Tahan notice the 3rd deck of the yacht was ablaze. Fire rolled outward in all directions, punctuated by collapses and bursts, a spectacle as dazzling as it was horrific. She was not the only unlucky one, for her room 201 lay below the left side of the blaze and suffered collateral damage. The 4th deck was close, the fire would spread fast, and more than 20 members of the Moonfall Guild were up there. Players crowded the deck, coldly spectating without the slightest intention of helping. Tai Thin clicked his tongue. "This 3rd dungeon is wild. People like us can never predict the next twist. Chengdui mused, an abrupt blast like this feels like explosives. As far as I know, the game grants no exceptions. He added, maybe a player chose to trade life for life with an enemy. The stall girl whispered, the Moonfall players are so unlucky, the fourth deck has no escape route. Someone nearby chimed in, maybe every one of them is a boss and needs no escape, the tone gleeful at others' misery. Moonfall had pressed on everyone's head, leaving people resentful from start to finish. Though they had done nothing monstrous, players still enjoyed seeing a threat fade. Tahan sighed that these players were truly something. Then she exhaled in defeat, avatars had died already, who could she blame? Fate would have its way. The blaze raged for 5 minutes, smoke and flame wrestling to devour the ship. Tahan suddenly remembered something and tensed, should we try to put it out? If the fire burns through the hull, we will hug planks and drift at sea for days. Only then did the players awaken to the danger. Yet they asked, how do we put it out, since drinking water was scarce and could not be spared? A few hotheads rushed to the buffet to help fetch water. The stall girl passed Chengdui with a smile and headed there as well. Tahan bit back a protest, thinking that using poisoned water to fight fire would likely make toxic fumes. Were they kidding? She moved to stop them, but Chengdui caught her wrist. He shook his head, so she swallowed her words. They spoke aside, and he relaxed. Good thing you warned them, otherwise they would watch the show until the ship burned down. Without another word, he quietly handed her a medical mask. Medical mask, single-use protective gear, after use blocks 80% of harmful gas, lasts 1 hour. Tahan marveled, how do you have everything, are you Doraemon? Chengdui kept a straight face, we did buy out the drugstore together. In truth, the mask had been discreetly given by the stall girl in gratitude. Thinking ahead, he handed his teammate a burn remedy. Take it, it cures burn. Tahan accepted and used it at once. Soon people lugged tubs of water to fight the fire. Tahan sighed, looks like we cannot stop them. Chengdui spoke gravely, we never could, the poisoned water turning to gas is only a hypothesis, few would believe, and if you forbid it you must offer an effective alternative, else blame may fall on you. She acknowledged the risk with a nod. He added, a reminder is kindness, silence is duty, nothing outweighs self-preservation. Then he tied a rope to a wooden bucket to draw seawater, while Tai Thin and Tahan carried other buckets to douse flames. The fire shrank, yet the black smoke thickened. Sensing danger, Tahan winked at Tai Thin. They withdrew to the deck and donned their masks. Moments later, screams erupted. Why am I poisoned? Whoever suggested using toxic water is an idiot, the toxin turned into gas, the smoke is poisoned. Tai Thin clamped his mouth and trembled, what a grand and terrifying scene. The trio moved away at once, not to draw attention. Tai Thin hurried after Chengdui, and Tahan followed close. 3 masked players stood out, so better to avoid the cresting wave. They hid in room 107 and locked the door. Chengdui cracked the window and watched. Tahan arched a brow, look at the sea. The others saw thick smoke touch the water, low fog thinning as the sea darkened. Chengdui hissed, the toxin has merged with the sea. Tahan's face hardened, we will not fish for a while, seawater is unusable too. Tai Thin was cautious, but the upper layers still hold the toxic fog. Tahan sighed, who can say how long it will take to clear? After a beat he worried, many on the 3rd and 4th decks fainted, will they passively inhale the poison? Chengdui shook his head, do not let others' words steer you, act on what you decide, playing with your life is a joke that kills. He shut the window and declared, we will hole up here for a few days, do not go out until the poison clears. The other 2 agreed at once. Meanwhile in room 122, a frail long-haired girl lay on the bed. Her voice held longing and regret, if only Lam Tin Hai were here. The blonde youth soothed her, rest and do not fret, you took the antidote already, you will be fine. The girl stayed stubborn, if Tin Hai were here he would have noticed the fog was wrong. The blonde's smile stiffened, bitter at heart. She kept repeating the dead, while the one beside her was him. She did not sense his displeasure. She fumed, why did Tin Hai drink the spring water, he said he was too lazy to queue. With his back turned, the blonde's smile twisted, for he had given that water, and the fool had gulped it down without doubt. Such stupidity deserved death. She still felt something off and said, "I think Tin Hai may have been murdered." The blonde pulled a bottle from his stash, just as he once did for Lam Tin Hai, and gently offered it. "Here, have some water." No sooner had she drunk than her belly cramped worse, panic widening her eyes. Jealousy and hate surfaced in him. "Miss him that much? Then I will send you to him." Yet his triumph lasted briefly as he recalled this was only a game. Once the run ended, they would meet in real life. He cursed silently. He had slipped too deep into the role. He had handed poison to two people. How could he wash suspicion clean? After a long think, he downed the remaining water and told himself, "I only trusted the wrong person. The water was traded. Who knew it was tainted? That is what I will say outside." It sounded foolish, but better than confessing to planned murder. Soon his throat burned, his gut knotted, and his senses dimmed. He did not struggle, waiting quietly for death. Then the door opened. The blonde looked up, saw who entered, and blurted in panic, "Tin Hai." A youth stood there, a wet triangular kerchief covering most of his cheek. The blonde forced calm and a smile. "Good that you are safe." The youth gave no reply, drew a dagger, slashed the carotid, then drove the blade into the heart. Pain racked the blonde. He clutched the attacker's hand. "Why, were we not friends?" The youth pulled the blade free and struck the heart again. A second later, the blonde dissolved into white light. Only then did the youth speak coldly, "I was cursed to be your friend. Do not contact me ever again." The next morning at the 9th hour, the system chimed. Day 4 of the game. It continued. Cruise ship C-23 exploded. Equipment is damaged. It cannot operate and will drift at sea. It concluded. Cruise ship C-23 is shrouded by toxic smoke. There are 41 survivors, including 40 players and 1 non-player character. Chapter 32, Disaster at C7. With everyone pushing in sync, the system had not even stepped in before the cruise ship code C-23 was on the verge of annihilation. Tohan cracked the window a sliver to scout outside. The fog that once surged in heavy billows had thinned, while the sea grew darker and heavier. Survey complete, she shut the window at once. Tythyn muttered, "Day 4 of the game, huh? Why do I feel like I have been stuck on this ship for over 40 days? Each day was so frantic and desperate, it stretched like a century." Who can tell? Tohan was curious too. But the ship's devices had failed, leaving them no way to test any guess. Let it go. Chengdu decided, closing his eyes to rest. The three curled up in the dining room, eating on schedule, living fairly at ease. On the 5th day, the fog thinned further. 33 survivors remained, and the non-player characters were wiped out. The system announced, abnormal heat, temperature surges to 38 degrees, mosquitoes boom. Direct sunlight will let harsh ultraviolet pierce the skin and cause dehydration and sunburn. With a stern face, Tythyn said, "If we open the window we will inhale poison gas, right?" Calmly, Tohan said, "So keep calm, grit your teeth, and hold on until this heat wave ends." Unexpectedly, the next moment Chengdu pulled out calcium nitrate and mineral water and started tinkering. Watching a while, Tohan arched a brow, "Making ice with nitrate, huh?" Nitrate here meant calcium nitrate. Dissolving it in water absorbs a lot of heat, drops the temperature, and freezes the water. She knew the principle, but she used to be poor and lacked capital to stock it. "Yeah," said Chengdu, and kept working. Soon a plate of ice was ready. Tythyn scooted closer, drew a deep breath, and a lash of cold struck his face. In an instant a chilly draft spilled across the room. After a quiet beat, Tohan said slowly, "Leave your contact. When we clear this instance we should party up." If both sides filed with the government to team up, then in the next game they would be assigned to the same server. After watching and colliding for a while, she found no teammate fit better than Chengdu. He was meticulous and friendly and never meddled with her choices. When help was needed they stood on one front, when things steadied they split up freely and played in their own ways. Living together felt easy. Thinking it through, if she must have a teammate, she would choose him. Thinking she meant himself, Tythyn was about to say, "I need some time to think," when he saw Chengdu's lips tilt and heard, okay. He was speechless. They had played this long without forming a party, yet somehow they stuck together for the first two instances. Was that fate? He kept fanning while pondering life. On the seventh day the fog vanished, and 22 remained on board. With nitrate ice well stocked, Tahan even stored spring water together with ice cubes. From the bottom of his heart, Taithin sighed, if I were alone, even with a portable stash I would have died several times already. Thanks to you two I am still alive. Casually, Chengdu said, no need for courtesy, you pay, I work, fair exchange. Inwardly, Taithin praised the big boss's thigh, cling tight and clear the stage. He wavered again, maybe he should pledge as the boss's little brother. At noon the sun turned vicious. Light struck the skin like a roasting spit. And Deng Duyet hid in shade and kept sighing. Lucky E is a term from the Fate Gash Stay Night series, pointing at the Lancer class, meaning unlucky, ill-fated, and dying early. On day 1 chaos, many saw her as a soft target and hunted her without mercy. After she produced spring water, no one asked for it, all thinking she had poisoned it. Now the bad luck leveled up, holding a filter able to desalinate large amounts of brackish sea, yet the sea suddenly darkened and clearly carried toxins. She honestly felt life was no longer livable. If she did not need to barter for medicine, and if only a few days remained until day 10 to exit, she would rather give up struggling and die calmly. A wave of heat hit her face, exposed skin as if set over fire. She sipped bottled water in tiny sips to wet her mouth. Once it was moist enough she swallowed. Then she resigned herself to move, for the sun had leaned west and the light would soon wash over her. But a few steps on, she saw someone hunting pigeons on deck. He shot the prey, snapped its neck, cut a slit, and drank its blood. Red liquid trailed slowly from the corner of his mouth, a ghastly sight. Her hair stood on end, and she decisively changed course. On the 8th day 20 remained, but more and more were failing. No one wanted to wait for death, so players began to cooperate. Around 8 in the morning a knock sounded as Chengdu woke, and a male voice said, hello, anyone there, I want to trade supplies. Sleep fled him at once. He stuffed the ice into the mobile stash and swiftly cleared the table. Face blanking a bit, Tahan murmured, tidying is useless, our room is clearly cooler. Chengdu froze. Fresh from sleep he was slow to react, but thinking again he knew the little partner was right, the chill would betray them. Unless they kept the door shut, those outside would notice. It is fine, about 20 people remain in this instance, and we have guns, said Tahan. Changing tack, Chengdu said, true. They would not pick fights first, which was already kind. If anyone dared to threaten them, the result would be tragic. Then I will open it, asked Taithin approved Tahan. As the door cracked open, cool air poured out. The two players outside blanched at once. They traded a look, and one asked politely, may we come in? Please, said Taithin, stepping aside. Inside and outside felt like two worlds. The burning heat was barred at the threshold, and the two relaxed all over, almost begging to stay. What to trade, and how? Tahan cut to the chase. The bespectacled man smiled gently, then said in a low voice, we need a large amount of clean water most, then food, medicine if possible. Chengdu stayed indifferent, lacking nothing and not needing trades. Curious, Tahan asked, what do you have? Daily necessities, he answered without a pause. After a beat he added, a large quantity of daily necessities. Tahan pondered, then asked, do you have an innate skill that generates essentials? With a helpless smile he admitted, correct. Then we are a good match. She laid out rye bread and sealed milk on the table, the milk is fully sealed, no tampering to fear. Food and drink could be gained by skill, but items for daily use only dwindled, so she agreed to barter. In harsher heat bodies sweat more, so essentials burn faster. When throats run dry, people ignore the system rules, they only want more water. After entering the instance there is no resupply, stocks are limited, so they ration food and drink. At this point their throats felt smoky. How do we exchange? The man tried to look patient, though he knew his face had long betrayed his anxiety. This trading mode was common, meaning after handing over essentials with cleanliness of 11, you receive food with cleanliness of 10. No category limits, only total value matters. She held a slight edge because she was not in a rush, and water cannot be priced by satiety. Honestly, when the other party needed food and drink, not fishing in troubled waters was already kind, others might dare to demand 2 for 1 or even 3 for 1. As expected, the man pressed, "Fine, let us trade now." He hurriedly pulled items from his portable stash, fearing they would change their minds. Essentials in one hand, food in the other, after several back and forths the deal was done. He exhaled and said politely, "We will not disturb you further." As they turned to go, Chengdu tossed a chilled bottle of spring water. The man caught it by reflex. Chilled spring water, to touch such a thing in the game, perhaps luck had finally come his way. Offhand, Chengdu said, "For you, a meeting gift." The man nodded dazedly, not even hearing, eyes fixed on the cold bottle. His teammate tugged him out. The door opened and closed, and only the three remained. Eyeing her young partner, Tahan asked, "You think a bonus bottle can buy them over?" Shaking his head lazily, Chengdu said, "Rather than an innate item skill, I suspect they are with the Moonfall Guild. They seize the ship's stores and do not lack essentials. I think they need water." Claiming food shortage was a smokescreen to avoid arousing doubt and getting refused. "They have everything but drinks, while we have clean water, so we might cooperate later." Moonfall's players were strong yet still held the fourth floor and did not stir trouble, so they seemed decent. Interesting guess. Tohan pivoted, "But what if you are wrong? What if he truly draws essentials by talent?" Unmoved, Chengdu said, "Then so be it. With our combat value we need not fear coveters. Besides, not everyone is belligerent, many only want to live in peace." Tohan was left without words. Chapter 33, See Disaster 8. In the corridor, the courteous man stared at the chilled bottle for a long time before coming to himself. His teammate patted his shoulder and whispered, "No one knows whether this is a windfall or a trap, keep your head." He forced himself not to glance at the bottle to avoid temptation. He swallowed hard and declared, "Then let me do this bitter poison test." He popped the cap and chugged with loud gulps. "Hey!" The teammate failed to stop him and watched him drain half the bottle. "Ah, that hits the spot," he sighed, wholly pleased. The teammate was speechless. "Not afraid it's poisoned?" he asked. "How will you explain this later?" the teammate worried. "We already traded for food and water," the man argued. "But the chilled water is gone. It was a gift, and if I don't drink now it won't be cold later." Beaten by such shameless logic, the teammate just waved him off. "Go talk to other survivors, there's a girl on deck selling water, find her. What if she's run into trouble?" Before he finished, his mouth was covered and a low growl snapped shut up. And Deng Duyet hid in a corner, thinking a lot. Today was the 8th day, endure 2 more and she could leave the instance alive. With that in mind she shifted hideouts, only to be blocked. And Deng Duyet. She backed 3 steps, fully on guard. "We're not bad people," the courteous man smiled warmly. "Then stay away from me," she said bluntly. He kept smiling. "Trade with us, I have daily supplies." No. She only wanted to flee. "What about medicine?" He switched tactics, and medicine was tempting. "What do you want?" Her face stiffened. He was puzzled. "What's wrong?" "Bulk drinking water is gone." Both men froze. "Why gone? Robbed?" the teammate pressed. She almost fobbed them off, then told the truth. "I have a machine that desalinates seawater, but after the fire the water turned black like it's toxic. Would you drink that?" "Of course not." He recoiled in disgust. "So there's nothing to trade." She sighed in regret. "Not even a single bottle?" He tried again. She kept silent, for there was clean water, but she had to think of herself. What if the next instance has no resupply? Survival resources are vital and cannot be handed out lightly. After weighing it up, she yielded a little. At most I'll give 10 bottles, medicine only, rate 1 to 1.5. Thanks. He exhaled in relief. 10 bottles plus milk eased the crunch. In 2 days they could leave the instance and talk about the rest later. The deal done, both sides withdrew. NK Books. The teammate muttered, should have traded with room 107. That side had abundant stock, low prices, and even gifted chilled water. Who could have guessed? The courteous man sighed, I thought they just hoarded mineral water, not a desal unit. He shook his head and murmured, let's head back, this will last till day 10. If not for that explosion the guild wouldn't have. He was muzzled at once, don't talk nonsense. Next morning at 9, the system chimed day 9 of the game. To-Han shivered. Nutrient capsule, rare food, restores 60 fullness, 60 cleanliness, 60 stamina. She counted 5, truly a super rare that boosts all 3. Hearing the chime, Tai Thin was thrilled. Tomorrow we can leave the instance. Congrats, Chengdu said coolly. Tai Thin looked around and asked foolishly, you two aren't leaving? Chengdu replied, I always wait for automatic transfer, which meant clear success. He added evilly, I promise to guard you till day 10, pay extra if you want clearance. Tai Thin fell silent, far poorer than before, and forced a laugh. It's fine, I won't clear. Inside he bled. Good, Chengdu nodded, while Tai Thin tasted bitterness. Time slipped by and day 9 passed quietly. Next day the system announced day 10 of the game. Tai Thin hurried to request exit. Right after, the system voice sounded into Han's ear, experience 30 over 30, congratulations on reaching level 3, fullness limit plus 100, cleanliness limit plus 100, stamina limit plus 100, talent tier 1. A translucent sheet showed the stats, name to Han verified, level 3, occupation nutritionist with high aptitude, fullness 340, cleanliness 340, stamina 340. The high-tier talent said that inside instances each day there is a 60% chance to receive 1 milk and 1 black bread, a 15% chance to receive a deluxe meal of 3 milks, 1 buttermeat bread, 1 luxurious chocolate cake, and a 2% chance to receive super rare food, with probabilities possibly occurring together. Knowing she would level, she had stopped eating since yesterday afternoon to save supplies, and sure enough after leveling the 3 attributes filled at once. With the nuisance gone, To-Han and Chengdu could talk at ease. Chengdu didn't hide it and produced a drug, which when used filled all 3 and cleared every debuff. To-Han clicked her tongue, that's a strong med, basically an extra life. Great stuff but too scarce, I've only ever gotten 1 vial, he sighed, then asked, what about you? To-Han showed a nutrient capsule. I'll come to you when needed, he said, a bit pained by her eager nature. No, take it now, she insisted, since she had received a protective suit and must return the favor. All right. He accepted without argument and she smiled in relief. In just a few days the player count fell from 1,000 to 7, a terrifying attrition, a few left voluntarily but most simply vanished. 7 people? To-Han repeated, mind racing. She met her teammates' eyes, and in a flash they both knew the worry. If excluding the 2 of them the remaining 5 were all from the Moonfall Guild, they would be at a disadvantage. Chapter 34, see Catastrophe 9. To-Han could not help but wonder among the survivors, will someone have joined the poisoners? The Trung and Din Not Kai had been blown out of the game by explosives, yet because player communications were blocked, To-Han did not know. Zhong Dui said in a low voice, for now we can conclude the Moonfall Guild is not tied to the poisoners. After a pause she added, enough, overthinking is useless, we will quietly watch the situation. Whether it is Moonfall or the poisoners, if they dare provoke us, they will not end well. As she spoke, killing intent leaked from her, and her gaze turned icy. Zhong Dui smiled softly, true. Yet he thought his teammate was fascinating. Upright yet not rigid, gentle yet with a hard line. She seemed disinclined to strike first, but once her life felt threatened she bared sharp fangs and claws and countered without hesitation. Still, Zhong Dui's eyes softened, a faint smile touched his lips, if one never planned to lay a hand on her, there is no need to fear an attack, and that is fine. Though the system showed 7 people remained on the yacht, Tu-han insisted on solo play, refusing to meet or trade with the other survivors. Jong Dui also stayed inside. He waited quietly in the room, eating snacks when hungry and drinking spring water when thirsty. For a moment Tu-han felt as if she were still in the disaster dungeon, drifting on a boat with Jong Dui. She quickly steadied herself. Today was only day 10, the hardest stretch of round 3 had not arrived. Poisoning was a player action, and the explosion likely was too. In other words, the system had only trapped them on the yacht and made supplies scarce, it had not acted otherwise yet. Tu-han sensed the third dungeon's difficulty would not stop here. Outside, the sea was calm, the sky was clear, and flocks of birds crossed now and then, like the stillness before a storm. Although she hoped the remaining 5 days would pass in peace, what must happen would happen, heedless of wishes. The next morning at 9, the system announced day 11 of the game. At once, Tu-han received 4 milk, 1 black bread, 1 buttermeat bread, and 1 chocolate cake. She noticed that after her innate skill rose to high level, fancy meals arrived more often. While she pondered, the system added, "A storm is approaching, players please prepare." Storm, wind, rain. Tu-han and Jong Dui met eyes, rose together, and rushed to the deck. The sun had been warm, yet right after the notice, gales rose in the distance. Crash. Great waves slammed the hull. Whether it was illusion or not, she felt the ship start to tilt. When a storm hits, should we raise the sails? Jong Dui asked. Tu-han was unsure. I do not know. She went on. Even if we should, we do not know the steps. The ship has only players, not even a single non-player character. In short, with no seasoned commander, the survivors could only grit their teeth and rely on scraps of seamanship they knew. Moments later, people rushed onto the deck. Tu-han looked closely, exactly 5. 3 moved together while 2 acted alone. She relaxed a little, perhaps no need for 2 versus 5 now. But thinking of the storm, her face grew grim. The yacht took a heavy wave and tilted further. Tu-han grabbed the rail just in time. The others fared no better, sprawling before clutching whatever railing they could. Jong Dui pulled a rope from storage, tied one end to the rail and one around his waist, and secured several knots before moving. "Throw me another rope." A middle-aged man a bit over 30 shouted. He was with a refined man and a round-faced teammate, clearly a trio. Without fuss, Jong Dui tossed the line, for in this mess there was no time for squabbling, only united effort. The gale rose and the yacht rocked side to side. Ah! The rolling grew fierce, and Ndung Duyet lost her grip. As she slid with the tilt, Tu-han caught her, and they clung to the rail. Thank you. Ndung Duyet's lips were pale, and regret surged. Would leaving on day 10 have been better? Why did she stay? The days before had been calm, she only wanted to grind some experience. On the other side, the middle-aged man, the round-faced man, and the refined man finished tying. They secured to the rail and also to one another. That way, if one was in danger, the others could haul him back. From now on, follow my command. The middle-aged man seized control first, raised the sails, then give a hand. Except for one young man in the corner, ashen and refusing to let go, the other 4 moved to work. We can barely manage ourselves, maybe we should go inside. Ndung Duyet sought agreement. Tu-han answered quickly, the rooms may flood, and being alone is unsafe. Who says we cannot help? If someone is in sudden danger, at least we can pull them back. Hearing this, Ndung Duyet fell silent. She had been rescued before and knew what a helping hand meant at a critical second. Tu-han had just exhaled when a wall of water crashed over the deck. Crash, crash. Wind and rain whipped everywhere, leaving no shelter, and both women took the wave in the face. Tu-han managed by holding her breath and shutting her eyes, though she was soaked. Ndung Duyet fared far worse. Seawater flooded her nose and mouth. Tui tui tui. Her mood tangled. If she had not mistaken it, the sea was still black, which meant toxin in the water, and a mouthful was the same as poisoned spring water. She sighed that she should have left early. Meanwhile, Tu-Han thought that the storm had not even brought rain yet, and this gale alone could wipe them out. In that moment, she missed the 993 others. Unlike now, the boat lurched east and west like a drunk. No sooner had she swallowed than another great wave hit with the headwind. The ship leaned more than 30 degrees, nearly enough to fear capsizing in the next instant. "Stand firm, we can win," the middle-aged man roared hoarsely. The moment after he shouted, a fierce gust lifted him away. About to clear the rail and fall into the sea, he was seized back by Tu-Han's hand. And Deng Duyet grabbed his right wrist as well. The middle-aged man froze in embarrassment. Failing to stand was shameful, being blown sideways worse, being saved by two young women made him want to disappear. "Pull him back now," the refined man cried. They had been barely holding on, and that mishap doubled their burden, they might not last. With the two women's help, the middle-aged man finally steadied. At once, a harsh creak sounded. All stared, stunned. Next second the lone young man met misfortune. The rail snapped, and he flew outward. Zhong Dui seized his collar, the refined man grabbed his left ankle, and together they pressed him down. He slammed onto the deck, face scraped and eyes watery, yet he could not complain as they were saving him. "Head to the fourth deck." The middle-aged man clenched his teeth and decided. "Brother!" the refined man cried in shock. Even if seawater and rain flooded the first and second decks, it would be fine, the fourth could hold longer. Tu-Han asked with honest curiosity, "What if the ship flips?" The middle-aged man told her, "The fourth deck has small rubber boats, we can abandon the yacht and escape on them." "Then go." Tu-Han decided at once. The seven of them supported one another and moved step by step to the fourth deck. Chapter 35, Sea Calamity 10. Room 428, a middle-aged man who knew the place well dug out a towel and tossed it to everyone. Chung Yu curled his lips, eyes clear, and said, as expected, "You are from the Moonfall Guild." The middle-aged man admitted frankly, "Yes, I am Zhang Nia Tu, beside me is my younger brother Zhang Nia Hak, and that round-faced one is our good friend, Thuong Kin Hoa, we call him Fatty." The gentleman Zhang Nia Hak stressed, "Although we finally took advantage and got a large amount of supplies, the poisoning incident has nothing to do with us. By the rule, who benefits most is most suspicious, many players cast doubtful looks at the Moonfall people. For this reason Zhang Noyet Lak did not want others to know he was connected to the Moonfall Guild." Zhang Nia Hak was ready to refute, yet Chung Yu nodded and said, "I believe you." Zhang Nia Hak was speechless, he had many arguments to prove the guild's innocence, but the other side gave no chance. Tu-Han casually chimed in, "Moonfall Guild never bullied others, when trading with me they were upright, that style does not match the rumor." Zhang Nia Tu looked around and said calmly, "How should I address you? Why not introduce yourselves first?" "I am Chung Yu." As he spoke, he calmly found a seat. Duong Thuat. The only stray youth hurried to sit, finally feeling a bit safe. And Deng Duyet. And Deng Duyet was the last to speak. The introductions were brief and guarded, yet Zhang Nia Tu ignored the tension and proposed, "Since we have shared hardship, let us cooperate to clear the dungeon." His expression stayed even as he agreed decisively, "We can. As an exchange, later please follow my coordination." Tu-Han froze, this man was more generous than she expected. Chung Yu pondered, then asked, "So the only true allies you have are those two?" The guild name was merely a convenient label. "Yes." Zhang Nia Tu nodded, "Others are temporary subordinates to keep the dungeon in order." Chung Yu was stumped, all his secret study on forming a guild in game turned out to be a disguise. "What is the shortage of drinking water about?" And Deng Duyet asked. Zhang Nia Tu explained, "Some lacked supplies and sold labor, some had surplus in their personal storage and used spring water to trade medicine with me. I agreed, and we lived together peacefully for a while." Unexpectedly the library suddenly exploded, several rooms nearby lost people, including the one with surplus goods. Tu-Han fell silent, thinking she suffered only minor wounds from the blast. Perhaps heaven still favored her by sparing her from the heat wave. After we traded enough water, on the 10th day other survivors could not wait and left the dungeon. Only the three of us remained. What happened after that you all know. Zhang Niatiu said slowly, there are many rumors about Moonfall, but most are misinformation. And Deng Duyet's eyes flickered, feelings complex. She had thought Moonfall were brutal players, yet these three were just ordinary people trying to live. The seven pressed to the wall, keeping balance, and the talk continued. This time Zhang Niatiu asked, how did you survive? Tahan pointed at Chengyu and said lightly, he and I are partners, we stocked enough supplies and lived till now. With a blank face, and Deng Duyet said, when I entered the dungeon I luckily drew the loyal card of Lucky E. Heaven did not cut off my road. When I was about to fade out I met a kind person and traded for supplies. My storage held food, drink, and necessities. I muddled through to now. Duong Thud said I hid in corners, ate and drank, and survived. Everyone said nothing, whether they believed or not. No one was foolish enough to question. They all looked like, so that is it. Bang, clatter. A torrential rain poured with shocking force. The yacht rocked hard yet held firm and never capsized. Suddenly Tahan asked, do you still have supplies? The three of Zhang Niatiu trembled slightly. Tahan said evenly, by my math, even with more than 20 people the ship's stock would not be exhausted. Each person has a personal storage, even filled there must be leftovers. Since we cannot take them, share them. Zhang Niahak stared in surprise. Fatty widened his eyes then lowered his head. Zhang Niatiu was silent for a while and admitted, you are not wrong. He dragged out several huge chests from under the bed and said, everything is here, take what you want. Duong Thud and Deng Duyet lit up and stuffed goods madly into storage. Tahan was not polite either but chose only soap and shower gel. Food and drink could be gained by talent, not urgent. Necessities were different. In peaceful times they were hard to stock, the more the better. In the end she filled her storage with a whole chest of daily necessities. The three swept through, only Chengyu stood aside with a cold face. Zhang Niahak approached and urged, brother, do not be shy, these cannot be carried away, take them. Chengyu sighed, I want to, but... What? Zhang Niahak asked anxiously. Chengyu held his head and confessed in pain, storage is full. Full, full, full. The downpour did not stop. Seawater quickly flooded the first and second decks. The seven survivors were taut as strings. Time crawled. One short day felt like a long year. Fortunately the tense and thrilling 11th day ended safely. At dawn the next day the sky cleared, the rain ceased. The tourist ship that had battled waves for a day finally calmed and drifted on the sea. Tahan exclaimed, what is this? The storm lasted only 1 day. And Deng Duyet's face was bloodless. 1 day is not enough. The yacht's violent sway made her vomit. Tahan fell silent, knowing how shameless the system was. Late rounds only grew harder. She refused to believe it would suddenly show mercy. If the storm stopped abruptly, a crueler trial must be ahead. As expected at 9 o'clock the system announced, Day 12 of the game. Note 2, the pirate's position has been marked on the locator map. Players may steer the yacht to head away from the pirate ship. Note 3, if the pirates lose more than 30 people, or the sailboat's durability drops by 50%, the sailboat's durability equals a player's health, the enemy will retreat. If Yacht C-23 is not caught within 4 hours, the pirates will give up the chase. And Deng Duyet said blankly, next question, does anyone know how to sail? Tahan frowned, even if we do, after the explosion the ship's equipment is damaged, it cannot operate normally. Sadly she looked around and found everyone even more confused. After a long while Chengyu spoke slowly, there is still a way. The system says the pirates know the position of C-23, if we abandon ship and flee, we likely will not meet them. Doing so meant drifting at sea for 4 days. Day and night on a small boat without lying down was awful. Last time 2 days left his limbs stiff at the end. 4 days now was unimaginable. Therefore if possible he wanted to avoid that small boat adventure, yet if there was no other way he would endure it to clear the round. Tahan's eyes flashed as she recalled something. She curled her lips and said loudly, what about meeting them head on? Think carefully and we actually have a chance to win. Everyone fell silent. Duong Thuet's face hardened. 7 versus 50, we have a chance. Are you sure you did not misspeak? And Dung Duyet stared at Tahan in shock, annoyed inside, clearly a girl yet more arrogant than men. The author has words to say. Tahan, full of confidence, said, "Come on, we can win." The others shoved medicine frantically. "Hurry, do not stop the pills." Tahan, cold and proud, snorted, "Foolish humans." Chengyu, arrogant, said, "My little partner is amazing." Chapter 36, Disaster at C11. Amid a ring of astonished gazes, only Chengdu raised his voice and asked, "Any ideas?" Tahan smiled slightly and uttered two words, "Fire attack." Everyone froze at the words "fire attack." Tahan explained, "The system said clearly that the pirates sail a medium wooden ship. Once its durability drops to half, they will retreat. So before the clash, we burn their ship and push the durability down to half." And Dung Duyet admitted, "In theory it works." Duong Thuot poured cold water, saying, "In practice it is hard. How do we ignite a wooden ship? How long to cut half? What if they board first and kill us all?" Tahan answered, "The kitchen has plenty of cooking oil. We can wrap oil-soaked cloth on arrowheads and shoot. If close enough, we can throw torches. If there is much oil, we splash it directly." Duong Thuot pondered, then shook his head, saying, "If we fail, we must exit the instance. It is too risky. I prefer taking small boats." NK Books. Chengdu said, "Abandoning the yacht for small boats is also dangerous." Duong Thuot asked why. Chengdu replied calmly, "I saw sharks and other aggressive carnivorous fish in the sea." Duong Thuot doubted and asked, "Then why have I never seen them?" Chengdu reasoned, "You always hide, so of course you did not see." Duong Thuot had no retort. Truong Nia Hak added, "I have seen them too." This time Duong Thuot fell silent. Tahan asked, "Among 7 people, how many have bows or crossbows?" Staying to fight is not easy, so many supplies are needed. If materials are lacking, she must choose to flee. Truong Nia Tu said, "The 3 of us are fine, we have bows and have trained." And Dung Duyet said, "I have no bow and cannot shoot." Duong Thuot said, "Me neither." Tahan reassured, "It is fine since logistics needs hands," then said, "I have a slingshot. I can wrap oil-soaked cloth around steel balls and shoot at their ship. The more kindling, the easier the blaze and the faster the durability will fall." Chengdu said, "I have both bow and crossbow, and one more thing." He hesitated, then added, "I grabbed 10 bags of explosives. Once triggered, they explode and easily start fires." He recalled the blaze on the library 3rd floor. Everyone fell quiet. Duong Thuot stepped away from Chengdu, not wishing to be near such a dangerous creature. The air turned still. Duong Thuot muttered, "Majority rules, maybe." Tahan glanced at him and said calmly, "No, each person chooses a path and bears the outcome. Whatever you all decide, I will stay." Duong Thuot was speechless. Chengdu said, "I will stay too." The 3 from Moonfall Guild whispered and decided quickly, "Since we are 7, moving together is best," meaning they also stayed. Duong Thuot wanted to leave, but leaving alone felt wrong. At last he said weakly, "I will go with you." Tahan clapped and said, "Good, it is urgent, so move now." When only 2 remained, Tahan asked softly, "Did you really buy explosives?" Unexpectedly, Chengdu answered blandly, "They are in my inventory. Want to see?" Tahan laughed and said, "So they are real. More importantly, if something happens to her, she will drag the one who dug the pit down as well. Therefore some people must never be provoked or both sides will suffer." Tahan praised, "Impressive." To boost efficiency, they split up. After 1 hour, the 7 gathered in room 728. And Dung Duyet reported, "Floors 1 and 2 are flooded, fabrics are soaked and unusable. I searched the 3rd floor and brought sheets, pillowcases and tablecloths." Duong Thuot said, "I searched the 4th floor and gathered all usable cloth." Tahan said, "I found plenty of accelerants, placing books and bottles of white liquor on the table." She explained that this product comes from direct petroleum distillation and sits between kerosene and lubricants, so it is very flammable. The room fell silent and all thought that with such preparation, failing to burn the pirates would be shameful. Duong Thuot felt vexed because a hard mission now looked deceptively easy. 2. Han said, "If there is no problem, then start," and the 7 grew busy. They cut cloth into strips finger wide and arm long, then soaked them in oil. They tied the strips onto arrowheads and waited to light them once the pirate ship appeared. Everything proceeded smoothly. Truong Nia Hak said, there is much charcoal in our carry stash and we can toss it after lighting. And Dung Duyet added, I brought much cotton and if we soak it in oil and tie it to the charcoal it will catch faster. Chung Du said calmly, I also packed charcoal with solid alcohol. Tahan slit cloth with a dagger to the right length and said coolly, if we hurry we still have time to split wooden chairs and beds. Duong Thuot kept quiet. At 2 in the afternoon the system warned, in about 1 hour the pirates will clash head-on with players. At 2 in the afternoon the pirate ship entered sight. Truong Nia Tu called, they are here. Tahan watched the distance and when it was right she shouted attack. And Dung Duyet lit the arrows. Truong Nia Tu Truong Nia Hak Fatty and Chung Du loosed volleys, some hit the deck and some hit the hull and flames burst out. Tahan burned books and splashed white liquor then hurled the burning bundles. Duong Thuot gritted his teeth and threw a wooden tub of diesel toward the pirate ship. Screams rose on the pirate ship and figures ran in panic. Tahan ordered, keep going and faster, determined to cripple the enemy and allow no comeback, and she felt lucky the pirates lacked long-range weapons or both sides would bleed. Arrows fell like rain and fire danced across the wooden ship. The books soon ran out so Tahan began throwing bottles of white liquor. Each bottle struck with a crash and shattered so liquor soaked the planks. Fire met liquor and roared higher. After a few minutes the pirate ship burned in many places and the blaze grew. Tahan said, keep shooting and I will check. She tossed the last bottle and studied the hull. She saw a prompt pirate ship durability 43%, meaning the goal was achieved. She brightened but before she could report the good news the durability plunged. Every 5 to 6 seconds it dropped 1% and the fall sped up. She realized the ship was aflame and without firefighting it would auto-lose durability like a burn debuff drains health. Only here the fall looked far more dramatic. After 1 minute it fell from 43% to under 30%. Chung Du was about to ask when the pirate mast crashed down. A man beating flames had sparks on his clothes and unable to pat them out he jumped into the sea. And Dung Duyet murmured with a complex look, he likely does not know that seawater is poisonous. She recalled swallowing a mouthful during the storm and being poisoned so jumping now is near suicide. The author quipped that the heroine speaks kindly while hiding a sharp heart, a joke with a sting. Chapter 37, Sea Catastrophe 12. All right. Tahan told the team that durability is 28%, we have one. The 4 archers finally stopped and exhaled after shooting until their arms ached. We won, did we really win? And Dung Duyet yelled twice in giddy excitement. He splashed 2 remaining cans of diesel oil onto the pirate boat to celebrate. The wooden boat that was barely holding together hissed a sour fart as the oil hit. Flames raced across the hull, the pirates had nowhere to hide, and they jumped into the sea to avoid being burned. They only leaped from one hell to another, their stamina was empty, a few gulps of seawater and they turned into white light and vanished. Soon the whole wooden boat turned into white light as well. The system chimed, the vicious pirates have been eliminated, congratulations on earning an extra reward. You may choose one of the following as your reward. A points plus 50. The satiety hygiene and stamina caps each plus 20. Tahan thought for a moment and chose B. The 3 attribute caps rose to 360 at once. Eliminating pirates even gives extra? Duong Thuot was surprised yet still picked his own option. A pleasant surprise. And Dung Duyet laughed in good spirits. Pirates are gone, I am heading back. Chung Du said and left. It made sense because everyone had gone all out to crush the pirates quickly. Now Chung Du had no strength to socialize and only wanted rest, the others felt the same but he said it first. After brief goodbyes the 7 returned to their rooms. Next morning the system announced day 13 of the game and nothing else. If we fled we would need 4 hours to escape pursuit, since we wiped them out day 13 should be a rest day. Tahan analyzed calmly and sipped milk. Truong Jaya Hak wore a complicated look. At first he thought Chung Du and Tahan were lovers and that she did well by leaning on a strong boyfriend, but after day 12 he wondered who was hugging whose thigh. The gentle girl turned into someone else at crucial moments. Brave and wise, unlike the saying that brute courage without brains fails at great deeds. Seeing him stare, Tahan asked need water, thinking he wanted a trade, and he murmured no need. The whole day passed with no incidents, a rare ease since entering this dungeon. But day 14 arrived. Alert, the yacht struck a reef, the hull is damaged, seawater is flooding compartments, in about 1 hour the yacht will sink, please evacuate at once. At 9 in the morning the system told the alarm. Tahan hurried to room 428 and asked where is the rubber boat, then fell silent at the sight. The boat was still flat and the trio of Truong Jaya-tu were pumping it up. She felt exasperated. If you pump only when fleeing, why come early? Truong Jaya-tu said low, it is fine, 1 hour left, we can make it, then flushed with embarrassment and added, we will speed up, give us a moment, and went back to work. Tahan did not rush because her inventory still had a blanket raft so no one would drown, though rubber boats were roomier and more comfortable. Others arrived, and when they saw the lifeboat still inflating, Chengdu fell quiet. Done soon. Truong Jaya-hak emphasized for the nth time, and Tahan ignored him. At 9:15 one 3-person boat was done. At 9:27 one 2-person boat was done. At 9:35 while inflating the third the yacht jolted and sank lower, 7 people staggered and needed a long moment to stand firm. Duong Thua checked and returned to say seawater has flooded the second deck. Wait a bit more. Truong Jaya-hak felt the race against time intensify. Tahan sighed and assigned Truong Jaya-tu. Truong Jaya-hak and Fatty take the 3-person boat you finished, and Dung Duyet and Duong Thua take the 2-person boat. Go first to find paddles and wait in the corridor on deck 4. I will stay with Chengdu to finish pumping, then rendezvous. Her earlier fire attack plan had worked, so everyone obeyed by habit. Soon only. Tahan and Chengdu remained, and while pumping Chengdu asked why send them away, and Tahan casually stored 4 big chests into her inventory sorted items and said I have wanted these 4 chests but it was inconvenient to stash them in front of the group, because to her this was a temporary party that would say goodbye after cooperation. In past days she had deliberately taken only body wash and soap to pretend all slots held similar items, but now with only Chengdu present she could grab freely, keeping 1 slot for the blanket raft and filling the other 9 with storage chests. Chengdu said nothing and focused on the pump. At 9:40 she finished organizing as the rubber boat finished inflating, and they carried a 2-person boat out as if nothing had happened. The 7 gathered boarded and the 2-day drifting life began again. And Dung Duyet was speechless and thought she had drawn pig teammates, yet the trio knew each other and the duo worked in sync, so except for Duong Thuat everyone had a partner and she accepted her lot. Sticking together is safer. Duong Thuat called out. But we cannot control the drift, Fatty groaned, for despite paddling the boats still followed the swell. Thus 3 little boats bobbed and wandered yet stayed within sight. Why do recent dungeons always demand 2 days at sea to clear? Tahan complained. At least this time not only the 2 of us drift, Chengdu comforted, but she felt no comfort and stayed gloomy. At 10 the yacht collapsed with a roar and sank to the seabed. Day 14 ended safely. Suddenly Chengdu stiffened and pointed, look over there. Tahan looked and saw a deep green smear slicing toward them. On focus it was a school of fish with green bodies, dark backs, razor teeth and spine chins, obviously nasty. Flesh-eating piranha. Flesh-eating humans. Before anyone reacted the school reached the 3-person boat of Truong Jaya-tu and cleverly bit into the rubber with their teeth so the boat deflated fast. Fatty turned pale. If the boat broke the 3 of them would be food, so he instantly sent a request to exit the dungeon and shouted safety first, forget clearing, go now. Truong Jaya-tu also sent his request. Truong Jaya-hak tried to exit but he was a beat late and got bitten, so the system said the player is in combat and cannot leave. Fatty and Truong Jaya-tu left smoothly. The piranha bite force was terrifying and pain lanced through him as if flesh were torn off. Just then the water erupted, for Chengdu had timed a bundle of explosives and hurled it at the school so it detonated in the air right before splashdown. Truong Jaya-hak's heart pounded and he rasped, teammates are here, do not throw explosives, but Chengdu replied coolly, if I do not blow them up you will die for sure, and tossed another bundle. The heat wave slammed his chest, blood rose metallic in his mouth, and he felt on the edge of madness. Beside him Dahan shot arrows into the fish, and Dung Duyet stabbed with a fish skewer from her inventory, and Duong Thud hammered with a paddle. Soon the piranha were wiped out. Truong Jaya Hak's body was covered in bite wounds and his stamina was only 8%, drifting like a corpse. After a long while he returned to himself, drew a cold breath and muttered, "It hurts. Bear with it, we are close to clearing." Tohan comforted. He lay limp and spoke no more. Fortunately nothing else happened after the fish attack. On the morning of day 15 at exactly 12 the system sounded like heavenly music. Act 3 of the game has ended, congratulations on completing the extreme challenge. You receive an extra reward. All surviving players will be teleported out. White light flashed and they left the dungeon. The author added a note, the pirate said, "We would be mad to trust you," and Dung Duyet said, "That was clearly suicide," and the pirates cried injustice. In real life it would be like a top student sighing, "This test is kind of hard," then scribbling fast, handing in early with everything solved while others wail such a fraud. Chapter 38, See Disaster 13. A transparent panel popped up before Dahan showing her real name, verified her level 3 with experience 5/30, her profession nutritionist with high aptitude and experience 5/30, her satiety 360/360, her cleanliness 360/360 and her stamina 360/360. After about half a minute the system spoke that you gained 15 times 5 equaling 75 points. It added that you received an extra reward and could pick 2 options from the list. It listed A experience plus 5, B a medical kit containing 5 antidotes and 5 burn creams and C points plus 50, and after a short consideration Dahan chose A and C. She chose experience of course because compared to a medical kit she needed points to buy supplies in the store more. After clearing round 3 she no longer pinned hopes on entering any supply instance. Thus her experience became 10/30. When choices were done the system announced that you cleared the stage successfully and should join round 4 at 8 in the morning tomorrow. Then the player exited automatically and the game cabin opened slowly. Tohan stood up and hurried to browse the forum because she wanted to see how others were doing. A blazing hot post appeared with the title "Discovering a Criminal Gang in Game and No One Manages It." The thread owner narrated his whole story. On his server someone poisoned the drinking water, so on day 1 right after lunch at the self-service room he drank spring water and was poisoned. His stamina dropped fast to 52%, then he was robbed and miserably silenced. In the post he nearly exploded saying, "I have a personal stash with layered supplies. I could hide in the mountains and easily live more than 100 days, yet because of poison I died. Aggrieved this trash game still lets others play. I strongly demand punishment for the criminals and resurrection for victims." The poster felt unwilling, but the replies below were full of glee. One reply said, "This is an online survival game, so there is both fighting monsters and fighting players. Being targeted is normal. Do you think you are playing offline?" Another said, "Why so tense, bro? Save it for real life because that would be scarier than a natural disaster." Another argued they used their own ability to poison. Why punish them? Heroes in chaos are exactly such people. If you can poison it, scale that is skill, and if the thread owner has ability he can control a server. Another said survival games can be won by cooperating with teammates to overcome hardships or by becoming the villain and eliminating everyone until only yourself remains, which is also a form of victory. Many reactions followed, yet none were convincing. One comment said, "Some always think players who rule storms in game will become demons in reality, but can you not tell real from virtual? This is a game. Killing in game is normal." Another said, "I suddenly think of my mother who claims gore makes you violent, shooters make you criminals, and adult films make you perverse, yet I have done all those more than once and I am still a law-abiding citizen." Another teased that the commenter above is exposed. Please lend me a speech set. Not until the 25th floor did someone defend the poster saying, "Server C23 right, I am also a victim." Day 1 everywhere was chaotic and panicked. On day 2 the system reported there were 1,000 people but only 117 remained, of which 108 were players and 9 were non-player characters. Another said, "On my server things were normal before day 10. We survived on stockpiles. Later pirates chased us. We could not take it and left the instance. In short, clearing is not easy, yet surviving to day 10 to pass is quite easy." Another shouted, "Report name and return a clean game environment." Another said, "What is there to explain? They did not hack." Another said, "Is this not a real name game? I think police should find the Poisoner and talk. Another countered, saying what arrests someone for poisoning inside a game and eliminating players? Stop joking. What law allows that? At least wait until he does something in real life. Another lamented, I just did not expect that not a single player on C23 managed it using poisoned water to douse a fire, and people even believed it. The water turned into toxic gas and killed a bunch. I was unlucky to be assigned there. The two sides then brawled and could not convince each other. On the 100th floor, a game master appeared and replied that players on server C23 did not violate rules, so please stop repeated reports. It explained that game masters may or may not belong to the publisher, and depending on ability and rank they handle tasks such as controlling in-game actions, moderating forums, answering phone questions, or replying to mail. In other words, such contention is tacitly accepted. Someone sneered, this is a game, dear, it is a pit for mutual strife. On the 120th floor, the game master replied again that the survival game has an entry threshold. Only citizens 16 or older can register, not children. Citizens 16 or older are considered adults who can tell right from wrong. Players still rejected the explanation and kept clamoring, but the game master did not appear again. Tohan murmured, so it is indeed allowed, and grew wary, then continued to read the forum. The thread owner declared he had found a world-shaking secret, and that becoming a boss was no longer a dream and that he would stride straight to the peak of life, but no one knew how it was now, and out of curiosity Tohan clicked in. Someone wrote, I finally found the key to success, yet the door locks changed all of them. The third round is set on a cruise ship with no supply points. Money is useless, oh my sobs. Tohan burst into a laugh. Below were piles of haha and pig snort laughs and lines like, although I sympathize, I still want to laugh. One asked, is the thread owner dumb? Why share hard-earned experience? Another replied, thanks for the technique, I will one day replace you as boss. The owner then stopped replying, likely too sad to talk. Tohan sighed that perhaps after being eliminated he felt it useless and thus revealed the trick, and she felt the first mover edge was getting harder to keep. Others heatedly discussed survival necessities, saying rare materials and tools are greater than daily supplies, greater than water, greater than food, and that with enough hands-on skills plus tools and daily necessities one can survive. Someone mocked, then you were already a boss, sweetie. Others said you talk lightly, try practicing in game then. Another objected, water easier than tools. I do not agree, give me full daily supplies, water and food, and I will surely outlive the survival boss. Then someone called that shameless because comparing longevity under full materials is unfair. Another wailed about personal misery, saying I seem a bit dumb because at the start there were 3 choices and I subconsciously thought the game had only 3 professions. Someone on the first floor laughed that there are many professions, the game merely presents 3 random jobs at the beginning. Someone on the second floor said, so from the very start it is luck. I am a miner, 1 gold nugget of 20 grams is worth 500 bay, while another is a gem trader and a single stone is worth tens of thousands of bay. Oh, ah, baby is suffering. Someone on the third floor sighed that the lucky emperor gets 3 choices, all high quality, the best one in 10,000 miles, while the unlucky gets 3 choices, all trash. Fine, we can start the game, sobbing. Someone on the 4th floor said I was forced to pick a trash job. Teammates asked why I did not choose better. I had no right to choose, it hurts to say. Thinking again, it makes sense because precious intel would not be casually posted online. After a while someone brought back government statistics to the forum and Tohan perked up and checked quickly. The data said 15.7 million. Players joined round 3 and 8.95 million could level up, meaning an elimination rate of 43%. It also said a total of 310 players cleared, and people cried, this is unscientific, how did anyone clear, how did they do it? Then others bowed, saying the gap between me and the boss is huge, respect. Tohan muttered 310 cleared, and once she got what she needed she was about to close the forum when someone added her as an in-game friend, and she fell silent because she almost forgot this. She accepted the request and both submitted a team application, and after about 15 minutes the party was formed. After that, regardless of the instance, as long as both were not eliminated, they would enter the same server and play together. The system reminded that you and your teammate will enter the same server, but your initial positions will be random, which means you must find your teammate inside the instance. Tohan was speechless and so was Chengdu. Both sighed, this pit is truly good. Chapter 39, Survival on the Deserted Island 1. After the team was finalized, Tohan informed Chengdu once and logged out of the forum. She then searched the finest posts and survival techniques on the Mad Survival forum and started cramming. After 3 instances, she realized her knowledge was too narrow and unexpected events left her flustered. So she told herself that jumping only when the water reaches the feet was unwise and she must study and reinforce survival skills. On the 4th day, Tahan lay in the game cabin a few minutes earlier than usual. At 8 o'clock sharp, contestants logged into the game. In a blink, thick fog wrapped around her. The next second the system voice sounded, "Welcome to the infinite survival game. You currently have 125 points, would you like to enter the store to shop?" Tahan chose yes. The store panel appeared and she began selecting with ease. Her ammo had been consumed a fair amount, so she bought 30 more rounds. Food, drinks, and necessities did not need topping up, so she purchased a folding umbrella, a raincoat, and a canvas tent. Thinking the blanket boat was too bulky and space-wasting, she discarded it, then bought a large storage chest, a rubber boat, and an inflator. With a few points left, she pondered for a while and finally bought big ice blocks and some ice creams. In reality, nitrate ice can be reused, but in the game it is consumable. She felt storing nitrate was worse than storing ice directly. After spending all points, she closed the panel. The system asked, "Preparation is complete, do you want to enter the game?" A white light flashed and she officially entered Stage 4. After entry, the system introduced this stage as a deserted island survival scenario. Try your best to live. Note 1, survive past the 10th day and you meet the clearance condition, you may request to exit at any time. Note 2, if stamina reaches 0, the avatar dies and you are eliminated. Note 3, the more days you survive, the richer the rewards. Note 6, in this round your personal stash is frozen and you may choose only 5 items to bring. Tahan. Fortunately, the system continued. Note 7, the environment here is special, the cleanliness stat is temporarily disabled, as long as fullness is sufficient you will not gain debuffs and staple food is unnecessary. In other words, this stage only needs food, water, and stamina. Her expression eased. After a pause she said, "I want a tool chest." Unexpectedly a translucent storage chest appeared before her, completely empty. Tahan. The darn system was too mean. The system answered approved. She sighed in relief. She hurriedly said, "No tool chest." The translucent chest vanished at once. Only 5 items could be chosen, truly tight. Tahan calculated fast. The system answered without hesitation, 2 categories. She almost cursed, but time was running short. To avoid a hard stage with no resupply, she decided to postpone organizing the stash and handle it after entry. Today the 1 free hour had only 20 minutes left. She knew the system loved trolling, and once the free time ended it would randomly pick 5 items. Cleanliness does not matter, so only food, water, and stamina, she told herself. I have the advanced nutritionist talent, the chance to obtain clean food and drink is high. The real worry is ambushes by players and natural hazards draining stamina. If I pick the right tools, they can defend and also hunt for food. After thinking, she chose a fire striker, a dagger, a sword, a protective undershirt, and a big bottle of water 1 liter. The annoying part was that the protective garment worn counted as an item. Luckily the magic rod attached to the fire striker counted together as 1, otherwise she would rather pick a lighter. For useful tools were enough to keep her alive. Frankly, she hesitated long about the 5th. A fishing rod was tempting and the new tent alluring, but she feared bad luck. If the talent failed for several days and yielded nothing, what then? So whether she could not fish or lacked a bed, nothing could shake her resolve to pick spring water. Only then did she feel sincere joy, since she had many supplies and the habit of using chests, so she had a 1 liter mineral water. NK books. Others might have panicked. After choosing, the system asked 5 items selected, "Are you sure?" She replied firmly, "Confirm." 1 second later the system announced, "You are granted a free backpack, enjoy the game." A black backpack appeared on her back. She finally felt the system had a bit of conscience. Without a backpack movement would be awkward, yet all chosen items were necessary, so she had given up the backpack, and now a gift was perfect. She took it off to check and found the fire striker, the dagger, the sword, and the 1-liter bottle inside, while the protective undershirt was worn. This was a solitary island, surrounded by sea, and she stood alone on a desolate beach. Not far away stretched a forest so wide its edge was out of sight. Waves brushed her feet as if urging her to act. She walked forward for more than 10 minutes when the system reminded day 1 of the game. Her backpack suddenly felt heavier. She opened it and to her delight found an extra bottle of milk and a loaf of black bread. Luck is not bad, she said cheerfully. She walked another 10+ minutes, and just as she doubted her direction, distant clamors reached her. People were there. Her spirit lifted and she quickened her pace. A simple camp gradually came into view. Early arrivals had begun to busy themselves. Some took tools and left for the forest to forage. While she observed, someone patted her shoulder and said in a familiar tone, "Here you are?" She almost struck, then found the voice familiar. She turned and saw Ndung Duyet. "What a coincidence, you are here too." Tohan greeted casually. "A real coincidence." Ndung Duyet smiled and then solemnly promised, "Thank you for helping me last instance, this time your food and water are on me." Tohan trembled slightly and instantly realized something. She lowered her voice and asked with emotion, "Sea water filter gear?" "Correct." Ndung Duyet smiled, then through clenched teeth said each word, "This time the seawater has no toxins, you can drink with ease." Clearly she recalled the unlucky experience last round. Tohan felt it was truly good that she had helped Ndung Duyet in instance 3. She accepted the kindness without ceremony and offered, "Then I will catch fish and treat you." Yet as the words were about to leave her lips she suddenly woke up. The person before her was not an ordinary girl. So the two split tasks. Ndung Duyet handled fresh water and dry wood, and Tohan handled fishing. Tohan entered the woods, picked a branch as thick as an arm, sharpened one end with the dagger, and then went to the shore. At the shore 5 or 6 men were spearing fish. Judging by their vexed faces, the catch was poor. One man held his breath and stabbed quickly, ripples spread, then he muttered a soft curse, "Damn it, it ran again." Watching the whole process, Tohan felt complicated. Because of light refraction, what they saw was a virtual image, while the real fish was below it. Clearly he had not learned school physics well, so he failed. A fish shadow hovered within range, and without hesitation she thrust down, and as she lifted, a fish was pinned on the tip. One strike hit true. The young men nearby were dumbfounded and speechless. Calmly she unhooked the fish, tied it with green grass from the forest, held it, and searched for another target. Soon she found a plump one. It happened fast, the point drove down and rose with another fish skewered through the belly. After catching 2 smoothly, she curled her lips and happily returned to camp. The others looked as if thunderstruck, the corners of their mouths twitching. "Is this girl hacking?" The author has something to say. Chengdu asked, "Do you still remember to find the small teammate by Daming Lake?" Tohan said, "Oh dear, I forgot." Chengdu lamented, "QAQ, the heart of a man is shattered." Primitive Living 21 Days is a survival show where 2 strangers, a man and a woman, survive 21 days in the wild while naked. The gear is simple and the crew randomly gives 1 or 2 items such as a knife, a canteen, or a fire striker. In the previous chapter the line "borrow a set to talk" was not a typo by me. I said I have movies restricted to 18+. Chapter 40, Survival on the Deserted Island 2. Returning to camp and not seeing Ndung Duyet yet, Tohan ran into the forest to cut some branches. When she brought them back and still saw no one, she went to the shore, cleaned the fish, scraped the scales, gutted them, and prepped everything neatly. By the time Ndung Duyet returned, the 2 fish were already skewered, just waiting to be grilled and eaten. Ndung Duyet was stunned, for the girl had truly caught fish, while she herself had only gathered dry wood and had not filtered any fresh water. "Light the fire," said Tohan casually. "Wait a bit, let me study it first," said Ndung Duyet, stacking the wood and glancing around like she meant to rub sticks for fire. Tohan opened her bag, drew a magnesium rod, struck it on flint, and sparks caught at once. Done, she declared. And Dung Duyet felt like she was being kept by a big boss. The flames rose, and Tahan began grilling fish. While chatting, and Dung Duyet asked, "Where is Chung Du? Why aren't you two together?" Tahan's hands paused for a beat, then she said calmly, "After entering the instance I didn't see him." The system had noted they were on the same server, but they had to find each other. And Dung Duyet thought that splitting up without panic meant deep mutual trust. In that moment a burly man hurled a log and roared, "What the hell is this? I quit." He had tried to spark a fire for over half an hour with no progress. And Dung Duyet quietly edged closer to Tahan. The men kept failing to light a fire, while the girls with flint could make flame with a flick, which easily provoked resentment. A teammate whispered to the burly man. Soon he strode to Tahan and barked, "Lend me your lighter." "Sure, bring over a stick," said Tahan, still tending the grill without minding his tone. He froze, as if unable to believe she asked for nothing and agreed so freely. He had imagined she would set a price and seize the chance to gouge. Yet Tahan kept busy and made no demands. Feeling a twinge of guilt, the strong man glared around and shouted, "These two are under my protection, nobody touches them." In truth, the moment people saw Tahan with two fish, many felt tempted, but her bold, unafraid bearing and unknown background kept them cautious, and now that warning doused their thoughts. And Dung Duyet looked at the man in surprise, not expecting decency. Tahan nodded in thanks, for her stamina was 360 and she did not fear a fight. Before long more people, unable to kindle their fires, came to ask for flame, and she obliged each one. Many, confident in life skills, had not brought flint, lighters, or matches, only to learn reality was far from imagination and it was already too late. Generous with fire, Tahan won gratitude, and a few even brought wood to thank her. The scent of fish spread as Tahan asked, "Got salt?" "Not yet," murmured in Dung Duyet, who had not filtered water. "Then let's eat plain for now," said Tahan without fuss. Fat dripped and sizzled. The aroma made in Dung Duyet swallow hard. The fisherman came back. "Why so late?" a teammate griped. "You think it's easy? I took off my clothes as a net. It was hard work to get one fish," the man said. The teammate fell silent. Some people hunted birds and brought back sparrows and jungle fowl. Others gathered fruit and wild mushrooms, but their vivid colors made everyone fear poison, so they did not dare eat them. "At this rate we will starve," someone lamented. Amid the groans, Tahan finished grilling and handed a skewer to Dung Duyet, saying, "Here, eat up." Yet she felt scorching stares behind her. "Are we too noticeable?" she whispered. "I'm already keeping a low profile." Tahan replied softly. In truth she was testing the others' thresholds and patience, and if, on day one, they dared to rob two fish, she would revise her view of players in this fourth dungeon and leave camp to survive alone. And Dung Duyet fell silent, then nearly teared up, for the person before her was a peak survival expert. The grilled scent drifted wide, prying eyes grew in number, yet in the end people only looked and no one acted. A while later an angry bellow shook the camp. "I struggled to catch that fish, how did you burn it to charcoal?" The partner squeezed his eyes in pain. "I told you I can't cook, yet you made me do it." "But I can't either." They stared at each other in despair. "Fish are hard to catch, fresh water is hard to get, this cursed instance wants players dead," groaned the one who had used his clothes as a net. Wolfing down her last bite, and Dung Duyet said firmly, "I'll go make clean water, see you later," then dashed off, unable to bear the stares. Go," said Tahan, ice thoughtful, perhaps she should grill extra fish to trade. After eating she wiped her mouth, took her wooden staff, and went to spear more fish at the sea, still only two, so as not to crush fragile hearts. Then she raised her voice, "Tasty grilled fish here, trade for skill or talent items, come if you want a swap." At once someone ran over, "Trade with me." "What do you have?" "Honey." He pulled out 5 packets, each 10 grams, and each use raised fullness by 5. Tahan thought quickly, fearing the system might throw in bugs that hinder normal action, so better to store easy-keeping food, and though honey was not hugely effective it was better than nothing, so she said, "Here, passed over one grilled skewer, and took the 5 packets. Want to trade for cola? Another asked. Tahan's eyes lit. What kind? Cans, 250 milliliters each. Deal, she answered without hesitation. Great, the man cheered. Tahan then tugged back the fish and said evenly, I said trade, I didn't say 1-to-1, if you want the fish, give me 2 cans of cola first. Didn't you just agree? He panicked. Tahan pouted inwardly and held firm, 2 cans of cola, no less, no trade. While they wrangled, a second buyer hurried up and asked, how much for a grilled fish? Before she could answer, he stuffed 2 cans into her hand and said coolly, sold out. Tahan was speechless, the newcomer left in a huff, the trade was done, and the buyer departed, while she pondered grilling more. Suddenly exclamations rose around them, look over there. Good grief, what is that? So strong. Following the shouts, Tahan saw a young man strolling in, 2 fish in his left hand and 3 in his right, and it was Chengdu. She was glad to see her teammate, but given the situation she did not want to acknowledge him. As she lifted her foot to leave, people barred her way, a band of 3 big men led by a shaved head. He chuckled and waved at Chengdu, we're hungry, hand over the fish. With 3 against 1 he grew more arrogant. Move, said Chengdu coldly, it's the first day, I don't intend to kill anyone. The words were brazen, as if it were 3 against 10. The bald man sneered, if you've got the guts, kill me.